From the Porsche aerial cam, looking down on the beautiful weather that has blessed us here for the Saturday that is Petit Le Mans, the 10th and final round of the American Le Mans Series for 2012. And look at the crowds out on the bankside, look at the cars parked. Absolutely glorious. Another big and enthusiastic crowd of sports car fans here at Road Atlanta, just outside of Braselton in Georgia. About an hour or so drive up the I-85 from Atlanta itself, and we're heading, we've just gone through the third hour and into the fourth hour of racing, and Neil Yarney's marathon first stint has now passed on to Nico Prost, who leads for Rebellion by a lap and a little bit over Dario Franchitti, who's the best of the P2 cars at the moment, the 055 level 5 car. Pierre Thirier is aboard the Thirier Racing, the 46 car, in second place and in P2, third overall. And then Eric Lux back aboard the 37 Conquest Endurance Racing. Now he's only got 4 seconds between himself and Pierre, and I would expect to see that come down in the next few moments' time. There's Jan Magnussen in the 3 Corvette, going to continue this remarkable streak of winning at least one race every year that the American Le Mans Series has hammered. And let me remind you, the first Petit Le Mans was in 1998, the first of the series was in 1999, and Jan Magnussen's been here. Your Jordan Taylor is in that car at the moment, trying to help out Jan to keep that streak going on. Jan's been a bit coy about that, and he wasn't that bothered about it earlier in the week, but as we got closer to race time, he's clearly interested in keeping that phenomenal streak of racing running. Oh my goodness, look at this. These are live pictures, and the 16 car, we've documented its problems earlier with the fuel pressure problems, and it's behind the wall and in the awning. The back end of the car is off, and there's work going on. Guy Smith, it was, who brought the car into the pits after a couple of little bobbles.
When this issue came up, Dyson was about 10 laps out from a pit stop, so they should have been good on fuel, but he did lose the fuel pickup. They also lost telemetry at that point of the track, so the team couldn't see much. They brought him to pit lane, they did put fuel in the car, and they still had no fuel pressure. They put in a new ECU. The first lap back out on track, he stopped again, came to pit lane, they did a full systems check, pulled the data card out of the number 16 car. That stores a lot more engine information than what the team can see on live telemetry. They went through all the little stuff. They checked all the connectors, all the fuel lines, just to make sure everything was plugged in, and it was. So now the team, they lost 19 laps on pit lane. They've decided to go ahead and take it back into the paddock and see if they can find anything else.
So they've actually lost about 20 laps now, so they're only about 20 laps ahead of the number 6 car. And in fact, the 16 and the 6 in the overall scoring right now, 38th and 39th overall.
It's funny, isn't it? You know, this is the championship that's on the line, and we have seen this before, that, you know, that the problems in this final race have been what has decided the championship. And it's not just been problems, of course, for the number 16, because they were in the position they were because of Muscle Milk Pickett Racing's problems. It wasn't so very long ago that they were going out of the pits after a big rebuild, after an accident. And this is what Greg Pickett had to say.
That's a very big job in a relatively short period. I'm so proud of my guys. Great stuff.
He's a man who wears his heart on his sleeve in the very best way possible. So that was a little while ago. And there is the leader, Nico Prost, for Bart Hayden's Rebellion and Speedy Garage's sponsored Toyota-powered Lola Coupe. And hello to everyone at Lola Composites in the Huntingdon who've done such a good job for Rebellion recently, rebuilding one of their cars that's out in China at the moment for the final round of the WEC next weekend. There is the Muscle Milk car circulating, but as Jeremy says, many laps down, still somewhat 40 laps down, 41 laps down on the leader. As they didn't need that either.
But he's been going pretty quickly. He's been doing 1:11s which from time to time, which is within a second of the fastest laps of the race. So he's certainly been pushing on these guys.
And there's no need for them to. That's, you know, I understand they want to do the best that they can, but there's really absolutely no need for them to do anything but to get this car to the flag in one place. They should be taking no chances whatsoever, and it doesn't matter whether they're lapping 111s or 116s, Jeremy, at this point.
No, it absolutely doesn't. You're right. You've just got to make sure they get to the end. But with the 16 car having problems as well, then just keep it running. That's all they should be concentrated on.
In Prototype Challenge, it's Ryan DL at the wheel of the 06 Core Autosport car that leads. He's in 10th position, or 9th position overall, actually, ahead of Elton Julian, who's kind of snuck up into second place in the 52. We haven't really talked about that team or car. He's about 12 seconds, a little more than that. It's about 16 seconds ahead of John Bennett in the 05. He's got 5 seconds on Ricardo Vera in the number 9, the car that Bruno Junqueira started, and then Chapman Ducote is next up in the yellow car. That's the number 8, but he's a lap off that battle.
Yeah, he's driving the Merchant Services car. There's been certainly a hive of activity in that pit lane this weekend, because Chapman Ducote somehow has got himself involved with the Kardashians, and they've been filming in the pit lane. A big group of film crew down there, and all sorts of dramas down there. They've been having a lot of fun.
There was a lot of people there. I thought they were making a sequel to some epic movie. There was that many people down there. There is the Nissan Delta Wing, by the way, going through shot. We'll talk about that in a moment. And here is the champions of GTC and the leader, the WeatherTech Alex Job Racing 22 car, doing great work at the moment. And in fact, Damien Faulkner has joined us from Green Hornet Racing. You would have liked to have been out there battling at the moment. We saw the incident earlier on. Any more time to reflect on what Peter Safra had to say about it?
Well, thanks guys for having me here. It's funny that you should say it's my first Petit Le Mans. I was just talking to Don Panos earlier, and I've met him thanks to you, John, here many times, and I just told him this is my first one, and I haven't had the chance to drive, unfortunately. No, it was quite a big hit for Peter. I think he's off to get checked out. It was just really unfortunate again. What can you say?
Had no luck this year, certainly, Damien. You got 5 poles and just the 1 win to show for it, and just all sorts of battle. Everything that can go wrong seems to have gone wrong for you guys.
Yeah, we've been Green Hornet Racing together. We've been the team that have performed well throughout the whole season, and we were largely the team to beat. But we just, as you say, Jeremy, we didn't get the results on the Saturdays from those 5 poles. We didn't get 1 win. Actually, our only win has been Long Beach, so it's been disappointing from a results point of view. And I know Peter's very disappointed because he wanted wins and we wanted the championship. So
that said, Damien, motorsport, it's motor racing. It's not motor winning. Can you take any form of succor from the fact that you've had the pace in the team, and what is a relatively new team, as we've mentioned, and you have been playing at the right end of the field there? And all right, some of the results haven't come, but you've had a win. You've been, in some ways, doing very well for a very new and inexperienced team. Not yourself, obviously. You bring the extreme experience to the team, but it's been, for such a young team, it hasn't been the worst season in the world.
No, well, a lot of the people in the team have worked together before, but this is the first year of Green Hornet Racing. I brought the engineer from Austria, Mario Pretzel, a guy I've worked with in Super Cup a lot. And together with Chris Barber, the team manager, and Cole Scroggum, our strategist, we've performed very well over the season, but and we've been at the sharp end. We've largely been the team to beat, as they say, but for one thing and another, we haven't had the results on Saturdays. And
can you let us into any secrets for 2013, or is that something that Peter needs to tell us about?
Probably you'd want to ask Peter, I'd say. I think the plan is to come back. This series, you look back at all the things that have happened, but it's the challenge of this series, the ALMS series. It's really, really challenging, and we really want to win it. And we've shown that we've, if we can just put all the pieces together, that we can do very well.
you've made a bit of a name for yourself as a Porsche driver, but of course you've been driving over here in things like Indy Lights. You've done not dissimilar cars to what we're watching Dario drive at the moment, P2 cars and in European racing. The GTC category is the entry level, if you like, of the American Le Mans series. As we're talking to Damien Faulkner here of Green Hornet Racing, and the GTC category, though, Damien, as I say, it's the entry level, but very, very valid in bringing teams on, drivers, entrants, and also being a part of the big show. We've had some great contests from you guys this year.
Yeah, well, it's a little bit like, there's a little piece of the Super Cup that's taking place in the ALMS, if you like, good. With all the Porsches. It's been really, really, really good for me. It's fantastic to get back into this American racing scene also. As you rightly pointed out, I was actually in the support race here in Indy Lights in 2001. And you've dragged me over here to a couple of races since that. But I love the American racing scene. It's really, really, it's different, I think, from anything else. I think it's quite unique. A lot of the even drivers and teams, behind the scenes, lots of us are sort of friends, if you like, and to that end, not to say anything more about what happened today, but I'm happy that Muscle Milk and Lucas have got the car back on the track again, despite what has happened. Hopefully they'll do well.
And in has come the 95. That is the level 5 car, and Scott Tucker is out of that one.
And that is the car with which they will nominated to score points for Scott Tucker and Christophe Bouchou. And this weekend they changed it. They generally nominate themselves to score points in the 055 car. They've switched them around this weekend, and it's now Bouchou and Tucker and Luis Diaz who drive in the 95 car, and the two Franchidias along with Scott Tucker will drive the 055. So a little bit complicated there. And I didn't really get a proper answer as to why they changed it around, but I think it was mainly the fact that the Franchidias were sort of more comfortable. They'd done more laps in the 055 car. And
we should point out, by the way, that's 3 hours and 13 minutes for Scott Tucker in that car, albeit with a couple of safety cars in it. Well, Damien Faulkner, who's alongside us now, you've driven this type of car. That is oh, there's a problem there, as he's just waving around. Does he not? He's fine. This type of car is pretty physical to drive, and for a non-professional driver to do 3 hours and 13 minutes at the kind of pace that Scott Tucker has been going at, is actually a pretty good stint.
Yeah, I mean, it's it is. I mean, there's a lot more G-load in these cars. They move around a lot less than our cars do. So from one point of view, they're less physical, but they do pull more Gs, and your neck will be sore, I'm sure, after a stint like that for Scott.
Yeah, Bouchou just adjusting the belts, I think it was, when he was coming through turn 5. You can just see a little bit of the tyre debris in those louvres on the top of the wings there as he comes through turns 9 and 10. I still can't get used to watching them drop over the skyline there, under the bridge and down through 11 and 12. I mean, it's a real leap of faith every lap you come around, Damien, is it?
Well, yeah, and...
Oh, this is... the Merchant Services machine. We were just talking about how well they'd been going on, and that's Chapman Dakota in 5th position in Prototype Challenge, and that is coming out of turn number 7. Looks like he might have got on the curb on the other side of the track and just looped it around. It's a common thing to do there, easy just to stay on the curb too long, and there's actually quite a big drop off there as he comes off the curb. Damien, I'll have a look at this.
That curb actually on the left can actually hold you on there. Perhaps he...
Oh, the BMW's gone wide as well, and so did he get a clip?
I think he's probably, I think he's just backed off there because the BMW was coming. Perhaps he thought it was coming across his track there, so he's just lifted off, and he spun it around.
He's done some damage to the rear end. Kelly Stavist is in the Merchant Services pit.
Well, this will certainly be disappointment for Chapman Dakota and his Merchant Services team, as he was really looking for redemption after leading much of Petit Le Mans last year. They lost it in the final moments. That's 2 years in a row now for the pairing of Kyle Marcelli and Chapman Dakota, where they finished in 2nd place. So certainly they were looking for a little redemption here today. And We were talking earlier about Scott Tucker, who had just finished a pretty monster of a stint there. Scott, just over 3 hours. How you feeling? You look pretty refreshed, actually.
Yeah, actually, you know, the weather's pretty cool today, so it wasn't too bad. But yeah, I think that's a pretty long time.
Well, talk about the change. You made your nomination from the 055, which we normally see you get points into the 95. What went into that decision?
We did a lot of testing here, and we just had a better gut feel with the 95. We tested both against each other, and we decided that was going to be the best for this race.
Well, talk about the mindset coming in. You guys are another one of those teams that needs that 70%. How do you rein in some of your teammates like Christophe Bouchou, who love to go out there and charge and tell them just settle down, get to that?
We've been working on him for a month. So yeah, that's our first goal, to get 70%, and then we'll go race. And you know, anyway, it's still pretty tough out there. A lot of traffic.
So far, so good. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a job and a half reining in Christophe Bouchou. Never mind a month. I mean, winding him down for a year for this. He only has one speed super quick. Now, this is coming in from Anders Finn to @ALMS Notes on Twitter, and @ALMS Notes is how you follow the American Le Mans Series. For Damien, how does a driver best practice for this level of multi-class racing? Can you actually learn the awareness that you need to cope with the cars coming at you at such different speeds?
Well, I mean, it's difficult. It's certainly one of the major challenges for all of us, even for the guys who are doing the overtaking. But you know, I think you just have to, you know, there's places on every track that are sort of, you know, less risky to overtake on, and you just have to try and be as cooperative as you can, you know, without losing too much time.
I was going to say, is it important for you to know where you can let a faster car by easily without completely ruining your lap or the battle that you're in? And do you have to identify that track by track?
Well, yeah, you kind of do. Yeah, and there's places where you think, you know that there's a faster car coming, and you know, you might think that you know, it's crazy to lift off, but it's better to lift off and let them through, you know.
Now here's a cracking battle in GT with the Corvette just getting hung up behind the 17 Falcon car. Now he's not in a battle with that Porsche, but he is with the silver and red of Flying Lizards, the 45 right tucked in behind there. That's Patrick Pilet against Jordan Taylor in the Corvette, and these two are locked together on a very short bungee cord indeed, as the P2 leader is back in the pits, or in the pit, should I say. Yes, it wasn't the 55 car, 055 last time. Dario in the pit lane.
Yeah, and this is going to be a very routine pit stop. It's just going to be fuel and tires. In fact, so far the day's gone fairly smoothly for the team. They had one minor incident early on, but it hasn't complicated things. Dario Franchitti got in the car last time. He's staying in the car. You talked about the fact that he was so enjoying the fact that he could race with Marino. This is only the third time that the three of them have actually been able to race together. And his Road Atlantic experience, yeah, he's raced here a couple times, but he always seems to have a bad time with the cars. He's only completed about 20 laps until today. Now it's working much better.
Yeah, he's loving this experience, really is. He's taken to doing a bit of yacht racing recently, or sailboat racing at least, and he's been back in the United Kingdom, doing that up in the Highlands of Scotland for a little while at a completely different pace, but of course still competitive. You'd expect that of Dario. Now let's go back to the battle we were watching before with Jordan Taylor in that yellow Corvette as we look down from the Porsche aerial cam, and the silver and red of Patrick Pilet closing in under braking at turn number 10, as Jordan had to give best there to one of the core Autosport cars. And this is, Jeremy, the battle for third position in GT.
It is. It's still the number 01 car, Tony Vilander, at the wheel of the Extreme Speed Motorsport Ferrari, leading at the moment by about 15 seconds over Richard Westbrook in the Corvette car number 4. As you say, this is the battle for third and fourth. Jordan Taylor trying to hold on to that advantage of third place over Patrick Pilet in the Porsche. Pilet there jumping over the curbs at the top of the hill as he plunges downhill now through.
He's disappeared. Like, I mean, that's torque, isn't it, from the vet? That's very interesting. You see, it's almost like he's found an extra gear there, or somebody, maybe Doug Feehan's had a word with him in his ear. That would speed me up, certainly. Talking about the curbs there, we've got Damien Faulkner with us from the Green Hornet, which we'll talk to in a moment, because we've got the leader on pit lane. Yes, we have. There he is. And that is Tequila Patron, who I expect to stay in the car. Oh, the front of that car does not look as though it's properly fixed on. See if they have a look at that, as it should be a short stop for Nicholas Prost.
When we see him right now just doing the routine cleaning off the headlamps as well as that front windscreen as they do the fueling on the car. Don't see him looking too concerned about any of the body work, and it certainly looks like it's going to be a fuel-only short stop here for the number 12 Rebellion car and Nicolas Prost. They're done with their cleaning. It looks like any moment now they'll finish their fueling and should be back on their way without incident, John.
Wow. Well, the only thing that was controlling that stop was the fuel flow from the pipe to the tank. That's very nicely done indeed for Nicolas Prost. And he's out and away. Just to go back to the point I was going to make, the curbs here, Damien, when you walk around the track, or if you take a ride round on a golf cart, they look fairly flat and fairly benign, but some of them are far from that. You've got to know which ones to use and which ones you can't.
Yeah, it's funny actually. Some of the cars can get away with using them, but again, it depends on how the cars are set up. You know, if they're really soft, then perhaps they can ride them a little bit better than others. But typically, we tend not to use the curbs on the longer corners anyway. Down at 10A and 10B before the bridge, there's sort of crocodile teeth curbs, if you like, and they're fairly flat. We can use all of those, but the other ones have a little lip on them where they're cambered up, and they can actually be of benefit because you can actually rub up against them in some instances, especially on the exits, and they could help you keep the car on the circuit, you know. The other thing that I want to say, John, just to that person who tweeted in, was the GT cars and the prototypes have different color of headlights. So you can, you know, and that's one of the things, and you know, all the lights are on here as well, so you can see the cars coming from quite a distance away.
Looking at the GTC battle now, Jeremy.
For the lead, Dion von Moltke at the wheel of that WeatherTech car for Alex Job Racing, and Dion von Moltke, he's already won a race this season for Alex Job Racing, but that was in the other car that he drove at Sebring along with Bill Sweedler and Townsend Bell. That was before the Lotus Evora was ready to move up to the GT class. So Bill Sweedler and Townsend Bell drove at Sebring 12 hours in a second Alex Job Racing GTC car. They won that class, and since then here comes a pass for the lead. Down to the inside is Mario Farnbacher, the younger brother of Dominic, who's driving in the Viper car. This is Mario, who is making his American Le Mans Series debut this weekend. He's, again, like his brother, got a lot of racing in GT cars under his belt in Europe.
And he's still only 12 years of age.
Yeah, well, quite, yeah.
He's ridiculously young.
He's 20. He's not the youngest driver in the race. He's 20 years old, and he's third. He did some single-seater races for a few years. He was third in the ADCA Masters Championship a couple of years ago, and since then he's been driving in Porsches.
Yeah, and they're just holding their station
Nice
at the
job
moment.
there,
Yeah, it was a nice pass, but he's not been able to break away. Well, because the cars are identical, you wouldn't expect that. Just how much can you change on them, Damien, actually, while we've got you here? That's a perfect opportunity. Obviously, the engines and the tyres are spec and the cars are spec, but setting up, is there much you can do with things like caster, camber, suspension setup?
There's a few things you can do. There's probably 5, 6, maybe 7 changes that you can make. Which is not very many, but because there's so few, each change makes a big difference. So from tire pressures to roll bars to shock adjustments, springs, there's a few more changes than what we can make in Super Cup, because this is essentially a Super Cup car, but it's much softer sprung here in the US for the US tracks. Obviously we're running on the Yokohama tire as well versus the Michelin Super Cup, but yeah, it's a challenge, and because they're so identical, you know, it's down to, you know, having a good team behind you who can put a good car under you to do a good job, you know. So yeah, I think hopefully we're going to be back here next year. I don't think Peter Lasafri is going to be finished with ALMS, or rather GTC. I think you know, our plan is to win this championship, and we know we can. We've just had a very unfortunate year.
Thanks for being with us, Damien. Enjoy the rest of the weekend as much as you can, as we're looking at the PC leader in along pit lane, which looks again very, very standard. as, the 55. This is the BMW, which had been right up there in 5th position for Bill Oberlin, and he looks like he's looped it. He's had a couple of little incidents, and I think that was turn 7 again.
Locking up the rears.
Locking up the rears. Whether that was on braking or downshift, we'll find out. It was certainly coming through turn 7. We saw him run wide there last time around. Oh, he's already in a big sideways slide as he was under pressure there.
I think it was the 01 car, wasn't it? Was it the 01 car?
Through 6. Listen. Went down 2 gears. He went down 2 gears and not 1. And we couldn't listen to what he said because it was not broadcastable. I think he might have just clipped down 2 gears rather than 1 there. Rather than...
Speed hit this lap. Driver, fuel, tires.
He's going to come in. He's got a vibration at the moment. And that's probably from flat spotting the tyres, because that was a very high-speed slide. So Bill Oberlin then will come back into the pits, giving up 5th position in the GT category. And every time I think things are settling down, as ever, this race provides us with a bit of intrigue and action, as Warren Hughes now is in the 118. Jody Firth did that long first run, and that car is in 7th position, but 4th in category. Effectively, he's chasing down Bertrand Baguette in the 35. That's the Oak Morgan.
I think there's a lap behind the 2 leaders in P2. It's still Dario Franchitti who leads after that round of pit stops in the number 055 car for Level 5 Motorsports. Eric Lutz maintains the wheel of the Conquest Endurance car number 37. He's about 20 seconds behind Dario Franchitti after a good double stint so far by Eric Lutz, halfway through his 2nd stint at the wheel of that car. And then, as you say, Bertrand Baguette is driving the number 35 Oak Racing Morgan Nissan, identical car to the 2nd place car of Conquest Endurance. So he is in 3rd place. I think he's just over a lap down to the leaders, as is Warren Hughes in 4th place in the Murphy Prototypes number 118.
Now some time ago we saw the 16 championship protagonist of Dyson Racing going back behind the wall. We haven't heard much since then, so Kelly Stavist has nipped behind pit lane to find out what's going on.
And the 16 has been back here for some time. Rob Dyson, what can you tell us?
It's a throttle position motor. It opens and closes the throttle, and what it does is it's way down underneath the engine, and we've never had one fail before. It's the usual thing. And brand new for the start of this race, so we're looking in, we're going to change it, get back out there. So hopefully it's in the car now, so we should be running in actually a few minutes.
Okay. So not as bad as maybe thought.
No, it's just that electrical problem. We got it squared away. We got to run. We'll be running. The car, other than that, has been running great.
Excellent. We look forward to seeing you back out there. Thank you.
Bye.
At the Ben Wedge has tweeted us to ask about that. There you go, Ben. There is your answer, and believe it or not, that car's been behind the wall now, Jeremy, so long that it's lost all of that lead that it had on the 6 car.
Indeed, now back to 4th place overall in P1, and already a couple of laps now behind Klaus Graf. So this lengthy stop, very, very costly for Dyson Racing. Those throttle position sensors, they're always tucked away at the bottom of the engine and very difficult to find out exactly what that problem was. So hats off to these guys for first of all finding it and then having to make that very time-consuming change.
Well, as the Dyson mechanics go about their work that you never want to do in the middle of a race, I remind you, it's John Hindhaugh and Jeremy Shaw. We're just coming up on 3.5 hours here at Road Atlanta, lap 153 out of 394, and there are your leaders in the 5 classes at Petit Le Mans. The Porsche GT3 Cup 911 is the race-prepared weapon for the Porsche IMSA GT3 Cup Challenge by Yokohama. 450 horsepower, 8,500 RPM, sequential 6-speed shift, fully adjustable suspension and aero, Motec data management, racing brakes, BBS wheels, Yokohama racing tyres and more. All proper race car kit. The last 2 races of 2012 ran this weekend at Road Atlanta. And while the champions for both Platinum and Gold Cups have been decided, Sean Johnson in Platinum and Angel Benitez Jr. in the Gold category, the talent in this series meant that the final season standings from positions 2 through 7 went down to the final lap of the last race But then you'd expect that when 30-plus Porsches hit the track. And we'll have all the details from the races when we come back here to Petit Le Mans.
Everything we ever thought up. Everything we fight for. Everything we dream of. Everything we are. The new 911. Porsche Identity.
It's not just what we gave the new Corvette 427 that makes it special. It's what we didn't.
First day of spring. Oh, my battery is perfect.
Yep, we've been on a battery tender for 6 years.
Oh, I wish I could say the same.
What do you mean?
Old man forgot to plug me in.
Yeah, before I was on a battery tender, I flatlined. Ouch.
Well, at least this couldn't get any worse.
Don't let your batteries become a statistic. Connect a Deltran battery tender. Available at these fine retailers. If it's not a Deltran battery tender, it's just a pretender.
When it comes to fun family getaways, it's got to be Holiday Inn Club Vacations. Room to be yourself.
All the excitement of the American Le Mans Series is back.
Red flag and we're racing at Baltimore.
Where technology races into the future and no man is better than his machine. Failure is always a threat when pushing development to its very edge. But survival makes success that much sweeter. This is where technology, passion, and danger meet to create a spectacular orchestra. The American Le Mans Series, presented by Tequila Patron, where the technology of speed and danger is everything.
It's the final round of the American Le Mans Series for 2012. Now, earlier on we told you about the race within the race. This for clean, fast and efficient totals. The Michelin Green X Challenge has been with us for a few years now, so you should be getting used to seeing this. And in prototypes, Rebellion Racing, the number 12 P1 car, leads with a total of 27.2. It's the low score that counts, ahead of a very tight battle indeed between the 055 of Level 5 Motorsports, that's a P2 car, and Conquest Endurance, also a P2 car. In Grand Touring, the two Corvettes barely been able to separate them all race, and barely separating them on the Michelin Green X Challenge as well. Clean, fast and efficient. It's a way to measure, a different way to measure racing that's not just about who comes first on the track. So as we look down from the Porsche aerial camera, get back into the battles down on the circuit at turn number 7. There's the Nissan Delta Wing pulling away from a group of teams, and let's jump on board with the Lucas Ordonez, the Nissan GT Academy winner. Now, if this car was actually in the race, it'd be 5th right now, but it's not, so it isn't. Running outside and unclassified at the moment, but you get the drift of what I'm saying. This car hasn't been built to a set of regulations for any championship, but it's a mark of the forward thinking of the ACO, the people who run Le Mans, that they allowed it to run at Le Mans under their Garage 56 project, which is to encourage new thinking and new technology in motor racing and in sports car racing in particular. It's an extremely light construction, just 475 kilos. It runs with a 1.6 4-cylinder turbocharged engine using the same kind of engine management and injection systems as you'd find on a production Nissan Juke. And very, very clever technology indeed from Ben Bowlby. Now, this is a pit lane speeding violation that has brought the number 20 back into pit lane for Mark Patterson.
when I lift the box. We'll figure it out. Don't worry, we'll figure it out.
So
we
that's
can't depend on that pit speed limiter now. We've got to depend on the dash.
and that was blown by some margin, hence the 20-second stop.
No, that car already had a penalty earlier in the race as well.
Correct.
When Tony Burgess in its first pit stop was a penalty too.
Oh, behind the wall for the Musselville car, back in and behind the wall, as we were seeing the Twitter message from Chris Dyson's son urging his dad on. But here's the big story. Chris McMurray's son, rather, urging him on. Here's the big story, though. Back to the awning. The Klaus Graf being pushed backwards. That's not the sort of power that he wanted. He was expecting Honda power, not mechanic power. And back into the awning. The American Le Mans Series P1 Championship takes another twist. Who is writing this script?
We're going to do this quick change. You're going to come out of here, drive back to the pit. We're going to do fuel, tires, and we're going to put Lucas in to get his time satisfied. Your time is satisfied. We've got your minimum, okay?
Just getting some radio. Greg Pickett, we thought that everything was good with the 6. What's going on?
No, everything really is good. We've just got a little bit more camber or toe in the front, right front in particular, than we want. And so we did on that first set of tires that we ran, we picked that up. So we ran another stint, and then we're just going to spend about 3 or 4 minutes to make sure that that's just A-okay for the rest of the way. A little bit precautionary is all it amounts to.
How much room do you have to spare to make that 70%?
We've got plenty of room to spare, we think, for the 70%. But right now, see, now we're all of a sudden we've turned our attention to racing for 3rd place in class. Because at the end of this night, a little sip of champagne would really be a nice feeling.
All right, thanks, Greg.
Gotta love Pickett, haven't you? He's suffering the highs and lows, the slings and arrows of sports car racing, and he's still able to have a bit of a joke and a carry on with Kelly Stavis down there. Well, this is sensible stuff. You don't want to run tyres to the cambers. You don't want to risk a high-speed puncture here.
That's absolutely right, and particularly with the number 16 car of Dyson Racer also in the garage area as well. You might as well just spend the time here, make sure everything's right, and get back out there on the track.
So the car will be lowered down onto the measuring devices that you see there, and the camber is how much the wheels tilt away from the vertical. And you might ask, well, why would they do that? All cars do that, racing cars do it more because it helps you turn the car at the front. And you'll see, particularly on Formula cars, the very outside edges of the tyres barely seem to get used because of how much camber is put on the wheels and tyres. That's the measuring device that's going on, and that's what we use to line it up. Now, meantime, out of 3rd position in P2, 4th overall, Bertie Breadstick, Bertrand Baguette, has brought the Morgan Oak into the pit lane for what looks relatively, that's restrained action there and fairly standard pit stop, Jeremy.
Indeed, Jack Nicolet started that car, fell back a little bit in the class. This was the car that started on the pole by Olivier Pla. Bertrand Baguette, also a very, very fast driver as well. Jacques, the team owner, he's a gentleman driver. He did a nice job in the early stint, though. Kept the car within a lap or so of the lead, but having some problems clearly refiring the engine on that Morgan Nissan. Not
for the first time. Overheating starter motors sometimes can be a problem with these cars. We've had a couple of problems with P2 cars in the WEC season as well. And of course, Oak Racing run in WEC, and they're bringing the car back up off the ground. I'll expect to see the rear bodywork come off this, Jeremy. This is a wee bit of a drama for one of the European Le Mans Series entrants.
It is, and they were running 3rd place in the class, and if it stays in there much longer, then it's going to certainly lose a place to Lucas Ordonez in the number 0 car. The Delta Wing now will be up into 4th place overall, and Warren Hughes also is poised to move ahead.
Yeah, so Hughesy, so that car still going up on its jacks. While we're talking about the European Le Mans Series, the importance of the American Le Mans Series and indeed Petit Le Mans recognised by the ACO today, as they've chosen this event to announce their 2013 calendar for the European Le Mans Series. Let's go back down the pit lane. I'll come to that in a moment, Rick.
That's because we've got the 01 car, the Extreme Motorsports car, being driven by Tony Vielander. Brings the car in. He's going to do another stint. It's amazing looking at all the steam coming off the front of this car. It's like a Steven Spielberg movie. Fuel goes in very smoothly. They're going to go ahead and go for the tires. Overall, they've been very happy with it. I can't see that there's a lot of debris in the front in the radiator, and the grill's going to the radiator. Not enough to watch. Nice clean stop. Wielander's on his way.
And a different view of a pit stop from the Porsche aerial cam there, as they pop back out. Yeah, Pierre. Here is their teammate in the 0-2, and that is Guy Cosmo in 9th position. This is the car that should have started on pole position, Jeremy.
Yeah,
started at the back and fought his way through early on, but he's had his trials and tribulations, particularly recently. Have a look at this. On the left-hand side, that was a big moment coming down the hill, and he's had to avoid
52 car.
Yeah, the 52. Watch from the onboard. It's all happening in front of him. And, oh my goodness me! Talk about threading. I'm not sure how much in control he was there. Was that the two Vipers getting together?
One of the Vipers, I think, and the 52 car for the PR1 Matheson Motorsports PC car, which was had been running quite nicely. Yeah, Elton Julian's at the wheel of that car. He's up to 2nd place in the class. Here's both Vipers on the pit lane now.
Well, they've both been grass tracking at various parts of the day. I wonder how, when everyone was going off, understeering off it for that, I wonder if there might be something just on the circuit there. It doesn't take long, or it doesn't take much to throw these cars off. You're under extreme G-force going down the hill and switching from left to right there, making some adjustments on the 93 car to the rear wing there, Jeremy.
Yeah, and I was actually watching the other car, changing the tyres on the 91. They seem to be fairly leisurely changed on those tyres, and that was the number 91 car driven now by Ryan Hunter-Reay, this year's IndyCar champion.
The number 3 Corvette coming in for its pit stop. We see the young American Jordan Taylor's out, and Antonio Garcia, who started in the number 3 car, back on driving duties. Now this is a team that wants nothing less than first. They finished second 4 times this season, really gunning for a win in 2nd place in the championship, Rick.
Yeah, the Flying Lizard, number 45, came in with a very quick pit stop. They changed drivers, put the fuel load in. They've got Jörg Bergmeister in the car, swapped tires, and he was out. Very fast pit stop.
Rick de Bruyl and Kelly Stavist in the pit lane. John Hindhaugh and Jeremy Shaw in the booth as we have 3 3/4 hours done, but more importantly, 163. Working lap 164 of 394 for the 1,000 miles of Petit Le Mans. Can't complain about the weather, it's been fantastic. There is Jörg Bergmeister. And is it Bergmeister, is it Patrick Pilet in that car at the moment? I'll have a look when I see it through the...
It was Pilet.
Yeah. And that is Richard Westbrook, who is leading the category at the moment. Richard Westbrook, another great European driving talent, almost got pigeonholed as another Porsche driver as he goes down the inside of the 45, and that's putting that car a lap back, Jeremy.
I think we can expect to see this car come onto pit lane this time around, or at latest the next. Last time around there was just a 1 lap differential between the pit stops on the 2 Corvettes. This time around it's going to be at least 2 laps. Richard Westbrook stays out.
Just as Rob Dyson told us, it wasn't much longer before the 16 Dyson car made its repairs. It's back here on pit lane as is required. Once they've gone behind the wall, they still have to come and make their stop here on pit lane. So they put on some fresh Dunlop tires and filled it up with fuel. And as soon as they can get this thing refired, they'll be back out in the racecourse to keep them on.
So there it goes, and it's out, and that's the 37 car back in to the pit lane. Eric Lux from 2nd position in P2 and 3rd overall, and there's a driver change there as well, Rick de Bruyl.
Yeah, Eric Lux brought the car in. A little bit of a problem because that other car, the 35 car, the Oak car, right behind them in the pit box, they actually went too far. Eric started to get out of the car, and then they motioned him and said, get back, get back. So they were able to roll the car back because they didn't want him getting out of the car when he wasn't in his pit box. They were able to get it rolled back into place. They've made the driver change relatively smoothly. Tires are going on now. They're just going to be buttoning everything up and getting them back out. No issues with the car. It's just a matter of getting them back out on the track.
And Martin Plowman then gets behind the wheel, the 3rd driver at Conquest Endurance this weekend. It's generally Martin Plowman with David Heinemeier Hansen, Eric Lux joined them at the last minute, and there was a lot of doubt about whether Martin Plowman will be driving this car this weekend. But that was only, he told us at VIR he wasn't confirmed for this race, but that certainly has come to pass over the last few weeks. And I know Martin, he's loving again driving here at Road Atlanta track. He hadn't visited before, as he hasn't been to most of the circuits that we've been to this year in the American Le Mans Series. Done a fine job as this young man this season. This team has been fast. We heard early on in the broadcast that I think it was Jamie who catalogued the mistakes that this team has made, and Eric Bachelard saying, look, we're a rookie team, we're all going to make mistakes, it's part of a learning curve. But certainly they've done a really, overall, I think they've done a fine job for their first season of endurance racing, for Conquest Endurance.
And there right behind him is Richard Westbrook, still leading that GT category, expecting him into the pits this time around. Been a good run for the Englishman. I was about to say earlier on before we go, no, that's just it, folks. So we parked beside the road there for a moment. About to say, he almost got pigeonholed as just a Porsche driver. Man, he was a very good Porsche driver. Won the Super Cup a couple of times, which is never easy to do. And as Jeremy predicted, he is in the pit lane. He's done a bit of prototype driving over in Grand Am and proved that he's got the versatility. Drafted into the Works Corvette squad, a couple of seasons ago now. And I think he's repaid their confidence in spades, to be honest. And there are the Pratt & Miller boys waiting for the GT leader. Through then will go Tony Vielander in the ESM Ferrari, and he will assume the lead. That must be terrible rumbling down the pit lane at 60 kilometres an hour. And he comes in to be greeted by Kelly Stavist.
And he came into pit lane with the lead. Of course, this number 4 car would love to put a stamp on its championship with a win here at Petit Le Mans, but driver Tommy Milner telling me one of their priorities is to help their sister car, the number 3, secure that second place in the championship. And one of the ways they wanted to do that was by giving the number 3 what they thought would be the preferential pit sequence, as well as the preferential pit stop. The number 3 car is closer to pit out. And as far as the pit sequence, we've seen that they've been split all day, so it will be interesting to see how it all pans out at the end of the race, that they did indeed set the number 3 car up with the better set of pit stops. Everything's smooth here at the number 4, and Richard Westbrook is back out.
Clear, all clear.
Not happy with the handling of the car is Westy. He was telling his race engineer he's got some understeer, pretty horrendous understeer from the description that we could hear. It was fully black dog understeer, I think, at one stage.
He set the fastest lap in that car so far in the race. Set that on lap 118, 156 laps now completed by car number 4.
Black and white driving standards flag if you're European, or just a warning if you're over here in America for the 52, for the incident with the Viper that we saw a few moments ago. And the leader in GTE ARM, the AF Corsa, Pier Giuseppe Perezzini, was refueling whilst still with the engine on. Now, you can say that they're not used to the American rules, but that's a rule that's absolutely
bad towards the end there.
Universal, and so big slap on the wrist for those guys.
Yeah, they've only got a lead of about a minute over the Matchbook Porsche of Nicola Armindo, is now driving car number 67, the Porsche. So that's going to, Armindo, he's a very quick driver. So with that penalty now for Perezzini, that's going to put that battle for the GTE AM cars very much into context.
Now I say ooh because the front tyres are being readied for the Nissan, and that's quite unusual because they run a very, very long time. Look how that pops up because there's no weight in the front of that car. That's fantastic with the single. It's like Zebedee from the Magic Roundabout, isn't it? Fantastic. And there is the new set of Michelin front tyres. These 4-inch tyres, unique to the car, running the same size wheels, believe it or not, as a Citroen 2CV, and with the 3 lug nuts, as you can see there, going down, bangs down. Gunnar Jeanette starts the 1.6 turbocharged engine, and off it goes. Running very well here. Now here is the Muscle Milk number 6 with Klaus Graf. You heard that he'd done his time, so he can get back out from behind the wall.
And I was just having another quick word with team owner Greg Pickett, who said, yes, this the adjustments they made that back behind the pit wall did take a little bit longer than they expected. They're still well within that 70% range if they can run smoothly from here. But here they are back on pit lane. They made the driver change. So Lucas Luhr, who was behind the wheel when the first incident happened and caused all the issues when they had contact with the 34, he's back behind the wheel. Klaus Graf has climbed out, and they're getting some fresh Michelin tires on the number 6. They really want to go out there and race for position in their class now.
Oh, that sounds good going out, doesn't it? And that was on the pit lane speed limiter. So that battle then for who doesn't want to win the championship. Yeah. It is the backward cycling championship at the moment, isn't it, for these guys sitting way down in 39th and 38th position with many laps off the lead. 169 completed by the leader. Klaus Graf is on 118.
Yeah, there's only a couple of laps now between the number 6 car and the 16. So,
of course, if neither of them get classified, the 6 car still wins. So
right. They've got the advantage already. A busy week for Brandon Fry. He's the race engineer here for Muscle Racing. He's been the latest online instructor at safestfast.com, and there's a lot of great information in there about what it takes to be a race engineer and or a team manager. If you haven't been to www.safestfast.com, I highly recommend it.
That is the stop and hold penalty for the 60 we were talking about, and it's a considerably lighter Ferrari Superleggera as it goes out, because that is not how it came out of Modena in any way, shape or form. And I don't think that's doing anything for the styling or the aero at the back of that car. It's actually been a whole section being broken off. That's not just disappeared from not being fastened on, because there's part of the rear bumper on one side still there. In comes its nearest competition. It's only competition, in fact, from the European Le Mans series. That's the IMSA Matmut Porsche. Fantastic colour scheme. Really is. It's classic. They've stayed with it or variations of it for years. If you've watched Le Mans, you've seen a couple or three of these cars running there.
And they did indeed cycle through to the lead when Perezzini had that unscheduled, the penalty stop. They did put the number 67 car here for IMSA Performance Matmut into the lead of the class, but now they will hand it again back to the number 60 Ferrari. Matt Griffin now at the wheel of that car.
This is the GTC leader.
Pit lane, the number 22 car, the car that is leading the GTC class, comes in. Dion Van Molke in the car, he gets out. Cooper McNeil's getting into the car. It's almost been a trouble-free day. The only problem they had was there's a wire that goes up to the steering wheel, controlling all the lights and all the electronics on the steering wheel. That went out, but the good news is they were able to fix that and change that very quickly and easily during an earlier yellow flag. Other than that, been a flawless day. Everything's gone very well, and that's what you're looking for at this race. You want trouble-free, no issues in terms of running into other people or mechanical problems. They've got what they need. It was a great driver change. Put the last of the tires on. Everybody's got their hands up and they're away.
And out goes the Alex Job Racing 22 WeatherTech Porsche. That's fast becoming a classic colour scheme as well, and it is recognisable. Those guys have done such a great job in GTC. It's the American Le Mans Series finale. John Hindhaugh and Jeremy Shaw at Road Atlanta. It's the classic end of season coming together of the top names in sports car racing for the ACO categories, at least for those that race at Le Mans. It's Petit Le Mans, 1,000 miles or 10 hours. We never actually got to the 10 hours. We got into the 9 hours 41 yet.
No, it was Guy Smith's car that just went past there. The couple of cars ahead of us on the road here. One of the Dyson cars, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, there's the other one. So clearly the number 16 car is back into the race after that lengthy pit stop to change the crankshaft engine sensor on that car.
So before anything else happens, let me quickly, I started talking about how important this race is in terms of the world calendar. Important enough that Pierre Fillon, the president of the ACO, the people behind Le Mans, has announced the 2013 European Le Mans Series calendar here, which will start in April at Silverstone with the FIA WEC, 12th and 13th. In May, Imola with the French GT Tourer, 17th and 18th. That's it's a clash with the FIA WEC, interestingly enough. Then on to the Red Bull Ring in Austria with World Series by Renault the 19th and 20th of July. Hungaro Ring also with World Series by Renault 13th and 14th of September, and finishes off on the 27th and 28th of September at Paul Ricard, again with World Series by Renault. And those are, I believe, 3-hour races. Each of the 5 meetings, just 2 days, practice on Friday, qualifying and a 3-hour race on the Saturday, along with those other series that we've mentioned. So that's how the ELMS, the European Le Mans Series, the European equivalent, if you like, of the ALMS, that's how that will shape up over the next season. So that is the looking down from the helicopter. Forza Motorsport 4, the official gaming partner of the American Le Mans Series. For more details, go to www.forzamotorsport.net and find out what it's like to put yourself behind the wheel of an American Le Mans Series race car. There are your leaders. It's as it has been for some time, but there's plenty of racing still to go here at Road Atlanta.
When it comes to fun family getaways, it's got to be Holiday Inn Club Vacations. Room to be yourself.
First day of spring. Oh, my battery is perfect.
Yep, we've been on a battery tender for 6 years.
Oh, I wish I could say the same.
What do you mean?
Old man forgot to plug me in.
Yeah, before I was on a battery tender, I flatlined. Ouch.
Well, at least this couldn't get any worse.
Don't let your batteries become a statistic. Connect a Deltran battery tender. Available at these fine retailers. If it's not a Deltran battery tender, it's just a pretender.
Duck. Duck. Goose.
Our technology builds some of the best tires in the world. Because when it comes to performance, we don't just play around.
Cheater, we said no 360s.
Who's up for some leapfrog?
Not even halfway through yet. The 1,000 miles here at Road Atlanta. Here's the latest update on the Michelin Green X Challenge, a different way to go racing, where as well as the speed, we measure how clean and efficient the cars are. And in prototypes, it's the number 12 Rebellion Racing leading. 2 Corvettes holding sway in the GT categories ahead of the 01 Extreme Speed Motorsports Ferrari. And the extreme speed cars, as you will have noticed, are looking a little different this year. It's the last race of the season. Teams are trying to get their sponsorship secured. Extreme Speed's new look is a great marketing tool, but it's also an expensive one.
We're super excited. I mean, to be able to come to one of the preeminent endurance races and to showcase an all-new livery, introducing a delicious brand to the racing world, we're really excited.
And it was a good time going into the holiday season, to be honest with you. You know, everybody starts to think about being charitable. With this particular brand, we always support Action Against Hunger. It's a charity that goes out and feeds different parts of the world that are having problems with not having enough to eat. So it's a great cause. They're a great organization. And like I said, they're not just helping, one or two countries, they're helping every country they possibly can.
We're expecting to be pretty quick, but hopefully this sort of glowing mirror type chrome car is in front of everybody and they see that they're chasing that all day long.
And this is the 02 with that new livery. And he is, as the 01, 7th place for the 02, and 01 is leading the class with Tony Vielander on board. It's been a good run for the guys, and the ASM guys in total, Jeremy, really have come of age this year, haven't they? Scott Sharp broke away from the prototype ranks to put this team, two-car team together, and it's kind of played out. Let's have a look at some other things that have been going on in the GT category. We expect action, and my goodness me, have we not had it. This is on board with Bill Oberlin, just locking up the rear end going into turn number 7, and that flat spotted the tyres as he was going down through the gearbox, had to come in for an unscheduled stop. Now the 02 car, watch this. First of all, there's a bit of Ferrari lightning. That bumper will disappear in a second or two, and then watch what happens ahead. Oh, which way do I go? Left, right? No, straight through the middle.
Boy.
Does he know what colour adrenaline is now, do you think?
That was close.
I'm not sure how much. I mean, when you're on the grass, how much control have you got, Jeremy?
None. You just happened to pick the right path through there. That was certainly more luck than judgment in that avoidance manoeuvre. Honestly, I think it was a bit of a deer in the headlights thing, because he didn't really need to go off the road himself. And one would have thought he'd had a bit more options by staying on the asphalt, but he wanted to keep the car in a straight line as much as he possibly could.
That's an interesting headlamp flash that they've got on the leading car there. Nicola Prost leading for Bart Hayden, for Rebellion, for Lola, and of course for Toyota, which is the motive power unit there. Now this is back on board with Guy Smith. And they've had a topsy-turvy day. Started well, dropped back a little bit, then saw their closest rivals for the championship leaders in the ALMS, drop out and lose 40-odd laps, 41 laps. Then they've had problems of their own that sent them, well, it's had them stalled out on the track a couple of times and then behind the wall, and it's a throttle,
throttle position sensor,
yeah. Now their 6 car also running cleanly as well, and that they're up in 38th and 39th position. This is the 6 car, another problem for them. This time the camber at the front end not quite right after that accident earlier on, and the guys working very hard to get it put right, and Greg Pickett very happy.
What we're going to do this quick change. You're going to come out of here, drive back to the pit. We're going to do fuel, tires, and we're going to put Lucas in to get his time satisfied. Your time is satisfied. We've got your minimum, okay?
Just getting some radio. Greg Pickett, we thought that everything was good with the 6. What's going on?
No, everything really is good. We've just got a little bit more camber or toe in the front, right front in particular, than we want. And so we did on that first set of tires that we ran, we picked that up. So we ran another stint, and then we're just going to spend about 3 or 4 minutes to make sure that that's just A-okay for the rest of the way. A little bit precautionary is all it amounts to.
How much room do you have to spare to make that 70%?
We've got plenty of room to spare, we think, for the 70%. But right now, now we're all of a sudden we've turned our attention to racing for 3rd place in class. Because at the end of this night, a little sip of champagne would really be a nice feeling.
All right, good luck. Thanks, Greg.
He's talking about getting back to the podium of P1. They've got no chance of winning this race and drinking the champagne that way. 38th position and still 41 laps away from the lead. In fact, a little more than that now. And that car is 3rd in class, but as I say, 40-some laps back on the leader in the category. And that, of course, is the Rebellion that we saw earlier on. So the battle at the head of the field then, behind the Nicola Prost car, has been on the shoulders of the P2 cars. And Dario Franchitti despite this just being his 5th start in the American Le Mans Series, has had a pretty good run, except for a slight misjudgment. Warren Hughes in the Murphy prototype cars down at turn 10 here. Dario coming from a bit far back there, Jeremy, and the stewards didn't like it.
They didn't, and he was pinged for a stop and hold penalty for 60 seconds. He served that penalty. Yeah, exactly, for avoidable contact. That is the standard penalty, stop for 60 seconds. He served that penalty a couple of laps ago, and he's still maintained the lead in P2, has Dario Franchitti, ahead of Martin Plowman in car number 37. So they're 2nd and 3rd overall. Mark Patterson holds down 4th place in car number 20.
Mark Patterson's been doing a great job, Jeremy. You've been watching his lap times.
Yeah, he's turned some very impressive lap times, quicker than the P2 cars. And, you know, for a gentleman driver who's just his 2nd time in this P1 car, it was a very impressive effort, I think. Well, he did blot his copybook a little bit, however, because he was pinged for a speeding penalty on pit lane, so had to serve just a drive stop and go penalty for exceeding the speed limit. But other than that, a flawless drive and running very nicely in 4th place overall, ahead of Warren Hughes in that car number 118 that was tipped into the spin by Dario Franchitti.
Dario doing a pretty good job jumping after Marino. We've still to see Scott Tucker in that car. Do you know, I think there's even more people in the grounds now than there were at the start of the race. Jeremy, certainly seemed to be more trackside people clearly wandering out at 20 minutes to 4 in the afternoon here at Road Atlanta after they've had their midday repasts and getting trackside to see the action. You can't complain about the weather. It's been extraordinarily temperate here. And Dario Franchitti continues onwards and could be on the overall. We could have 2 P2 cars on the overall podium. He's 49.5 seconds ahead of Martin Plowman, but lapping quicker than Plowy last time around.
Yeah, Martin hasn't. He's not yet turning the same sort of laps that David Heinemeier Hansen was. But here now is the level 5 car onto pit lane. Is this schedule?
It's about right.
Yeah, it is.
Remember, he can't. They can't do anything when he comes in for his stop-go, of course. So down pit lane, on the pit lane speed limit, you can see that just revving up in the middle of Dario's dashboard. And the 0.55 comes to a halt, and Rick de Bruyl is there.
Dario Franchitti brings it in. It's so much calmer than an IndyCar pit stop. In an IndyCar pit stop, it will be 10, 15 seconds most, and then you'll be back out. Not a lot of time to think about things. This car, making a pit stop, so much more different. First thing they have to do is wait till they get all the fuel in. During that time, they gave Dario a water bottle. He can casually drink it, hand it off. Once the fuel in, then they go to work on it. Overall, though, they've been very happy with the car. With the exception of that one incident, they're very happy. In fact, this time they're not even changing tires, and they're sending him out.
That's right, fuel only there for Dario Franchitti. Warren Hughes also in the pit lane. I think it might have been Warren Hughes just ahead of Dario as he came out of the pit lane, actually. So he making a pit stop as well. Warren Hughes is a couple of laps behind Dario Franchitti in the overall standings.
Dario straight back on to pace as he goes through turn number 4. Just caught the right-hand curb there as he turned into turn 5, and that slightly put him offline. Coming through the exit, just tightening up the seat belts after he's come out of the pit lane. So on board the black level 5 Motorsports 0.55 car with Dario. He's got a very relaxed style about him, isn't he? He's sits low down in the car, has his hands low on the steering wheel, checking his right mirror there to see where the Corvette is as he comes down in the braking area for turn 10A. Now up and over under the Ultimate Vodka Bridge and down into turn 12. You could actually hear the Ferrari ahead of him above the noise of the P2 engine. That's quite interesting, isn't it? Now in behind the Flying Lizard. Clearly see the wider rear end of the 45 than the car that went by. That's a full lap now with being on board with Dario. That's fabulous. Oh, and a bit of a mistake there by the 45. Jörg Bergmeister, as into the pit comes Nicola Prost. 4 hours and 10 minutes gone, lap number 185. The Rebellion Toyota Lola Coupe is in the pit lane.
Right on schedule.
This will be a full service stop. Andrea Bellicchi had his helmet on. I still see him back over the wall, but it doesn't look like he's going to be getting in. Actually, he might be just not quite ready yet. Nope, just a fresh drink bottle for Nicola Prost. Fuel still going in. This car looks pretty clean. The team has been going through their paces, making sure that they clean up the headlights and the windshield on every pit stop. Really just taking their time, not setting themselves up to make any mistakes, and that's exactly what's happened so far. Is they have run a very clean race, whereas their other competitors in P1 have not. Right now, everything's still going to plan.
Now, that was interesting, Jeremy, because that was fuel only.
It was, and I reckon the previous stop was fuel only as well. So triple stinting the tyres here, Rebellion Racing, with this, even with this huge lead. They got, what, 3 or 4 laps now over Martin Plowman, who's moved up into second place.
And look at that,
Whoa.
just as the leader comes out, into the wall goes the 60 car. This is Perezzini.
Matt Griffin.
Matt Griffin, sorry, the Irishman.
Your neighbour.
On at turn 1, and just touching the wall on the exit after getting pushed wide by.
He's white-walled the left-hand side tyres there, and he'll have to come in because the grille is covered in grass cuttings. The guys were out on the ride-ons yesterday making sure that the place looked top quality.
He had a 32-second lead over Raymond Narak, who's driving the IMSA Performance Matmut Porsche. So that's the battle for the GTE Amateur class, and
we will refuel the car and we will check. The tires look okay.
You see the rear valance missing off that car from the earlier incident that we had seen.
Yeah, that was with the O2, wasn't it, of course. I can't imagine that all that grass on the front's doing the cooling any good, though. Now, let's see who else was involved there. You just can't see at the bottom that he's already off at that point, so who's gone off up the road? He was adamant there was another car involved, but we're not seeing it there, of course, because he's probably up and over the top of the hillside.
No, he's obviously been down there right at the entrance of the corner pretty much. He's off the road very early, which is sort of unusual.
Really unusual for Matt. Write that one down in your jotter. He's come into the pit lane, and I think that's wise. Regardless of how the car feels, frankly, you'd want to get all that rubbish off the front end of the car.
That'll take no time at all to start overheating. You can see the damage there on the left-hand side of the car, so they'll certainly have to look that over. I hope there's no other damage.
There's a bent wheel rim as well. Look at the wheel rim on the back, down at the 6th, 7th and 8th position, just rolling now from 5 through to 6. And that's the sort of thing that could rapidly deflate and cause a puncture. And that is not what you want to do when you're around here. You can just see the rim there of the alloy has been flattened up against the wall, and he's lucky not to have lost pressure there. The Michelin tyre not coming off the bead, but look there, perfectly. Thanks, guys, for doing it that way around. So you can actually see the big bend.
Look at that bend. Wow.
Single piece rims there. You can actually see that's a one-piece rim.
It's incredible, isn't it? It did that much damage to the rim, and it stayed on.
He did actually clip the wall. He said it was a light brush on the radio, but that's more than that.
I don't call that a light brush.
Yeah. And I'd be surprised if that hasn't knocked the rear toe out, to be honest.
So he has given up the lead in GTEM now to Raymond Narak in car number 67.
This back in the pit lane with the Dyson number 16. What now? Is this just scheduled, Rick de Bruyl?
Yeah, it looks like a scheduled shop. At this point, it's pretty much survival of the survivalists. These guys are just trying to go as far as they can. It's really not a question of position. It's a question of going the right amount of distance at 70% of the total race. They bring it in. They've done a nice, even, simple service. Looks like they're going to send it back out, and that's all it is. But, again, the big job is making sure they stay out.
Let's go and have a look at the Delta Wing, the unclassified car that's running as effectively a prototype. Johnny O'Connell, one of our broadcast colleagues for tomorrow's network show, is sitting up in the other booth over the start and finish line. Good afternoon, Johnny. Now, you've had the chance to get behind the wheel of this car. It looks very, very different. It's got a different concept, but how's it drive when you're actually behind the wheel here at Road Atlanta?
You know, it was really interesting, and one of the things that I look at when I look at the Delta Wing is it's very Don Panos. Okay, you know, that is a guy that is a bit of a trailblazer, and you know what? And a very well-behaved car. You know, when you first take a look at it, you're like, man, how is this thing going to turn? And it changes directions extremely well. And but the way you drive it, it's a lower horsepower car. You know, you're looking at about 300 horsepower, very light. And so you, in many aspects, need to drive it like a small Formula car. You know, doing all your braking, you know, in a straight line, and as you turn in, trying to get back to throttle. But a very neat deal, and I think it's exciting anytime you bring science and technology and try to move the ball forward.
I'm told a few journalists are going to get behind the wheel on Monday. I haven't been invited because clearly at only 475 kilos, my weight would break the thing. Can the Delta Wing be classified on the overall podium despite not being in any of the classes, says a Dive Fire. The short answer to that, my man, is no. It doesn't appear on the results because it's unclassified. It's not been built to any rules. And you know what? That is the real opportunity here. And I think, Johnny, just keeping you in on this conversation, this is a car that weighs 475 kilos. It's less than half the weight of any of the other prototypes out there, and yet the lap times, the speed, and the excitement is certainly not half of what we're seeing at the head of the field.
Yeah, to me it's so impressive. Think about it. You're at 300 horsepower. You're only carrying barely more than 10 gallons of fuel. That's not a whole lot of fuel, and yet you know, you are doing the lap times that this car is doing. I mean, aerodynamically, that car is very sleek. It creates a lot of downforce. To me, when I was talking to Gunnar and Lucas about, you know, driving the car in this event, to me one of the most difficult aspects was steering effort in this car is high. It does not have power steering adapted to it yet. That is definitely something that drivers will appreciate when it gets there. In many aspects, the steering feel to me was similar to the old Group C or GTP cars prior to power steering coming into the prototype ranks, but a very neat deal. The only thing that I wish, John, is that I'd gotten a whole lot more laps. I only did like 13 or 14 laps, and I think it's one of those cars where you get up to where you've done 30, 40 laps, and you really learn it's, you know, what it likes, and you can get intimate with the car and take bigger chances. Then that would be a very cool deal.
Yeah, Johnny. Yeah, I was talking to the drivers who are racing the car this weekend, and Gunnar, it was interesting to me that Gunnar Jeanette said really he drives this car just like he would any other car, but Lucas Ordonia said no, it's quite a different style. You have to do, like you alluded to there, you have to do all your braking in a straight line pretty much. So kind of old school.
Yeah, very much so. And for me, Jeremy, remember, I have not driven a rear-engine car in, about, 13, 14 years. So I'm very used to carrying my brake into a corner to get my car to change direction. Because you don't have any mass of an engine over those front tires, you can really get off that brake earlier. And that's one of the things when people wonder, why is a Formula car always fast? Or why are the prototypes rear-engine always fast? Well, just that physical attribute of having your mass, behind you mandates that you get back to the throttle, and that is something that the Delta Wing has. But it is a momentum car. One thing I have had happen, as we see up the 66 car in the kitty litter, but I would go into turn one if you did not have the proper gear selected. You don't, at 300 horsepower, have that power to get you out of a bad situation.
Spencer Pumpelly brings out our third full course caution of the race. Johnny, thanks very much indeed. With Brian Till and Justin Bell on the network tomorrow. Check local schedules for details, as they'll be looking back at this race in highlight form. And we'll hear more from their booth a little bit later on. Please, somebody who makes the rules, make a proper 600 or 500 kilo, 300 horsepower class, so that the Delta Wing can race and can have some competition that maybe looks a little bit different too. I think it'd be a great thing to do, and certainly a perfect green challenge, if you like, for the rules makers. In the kitty litter then, that is Beach. That is not coming out of there without the help of a recovery vehicle.
No, and he's kind of spun it kind of the wrong way into the kitty litter there, and it really is Spencer Pumpelly. That's a surprise. We saw him make a mistake, I think, earlier on as well. He doesn't make many mistakes, particularly his home track here at Road Atlanta. He lives only a few miles away, does Spencer Pumpelly, so he's put that car on the gravel track for TRG. It was round down in the 4th place in the class before this incident.
Yeah, and he
So
was
we've got a good
right,
battle going on up in the front there. There's 3 cars, I think, on the lead lap in GTC.
he was right behind the Delta Wing, actually, when we
He
were
was,
on
he must
board
have been.
with... Yeah, he was right behind Gunnar when we were looking at it.
It must have been, because we were on board and we went over the top of the hill, and then we'd look around, and next thing there's the
absolutely.
6 car in the gravel.
Well, no action on this circuit as the safety car is out picking up the leader. So let's take a look behind the scenes at the American Le Mans Series. And one of the things about the American Le Mans Series is it's not just a race series, it's a lifestyle choice. And this season, Evan Prelesh has been taking us behind the scenes at the track. This time, it's the inner sanctum of the hospitality area.
Teams are fierce competitors on the racetrack, but there's something very unique about the hospitality tent. All competition gets left at the door.
It equalizes everybody. You get to talk, have a meal together.
You can kind of come in and it's low pressure and you get to talk with everyone, see everyone, crack some jokes, and you know, something you wouldn't really be able to do in pit lane.
When we get here, we start getting up on the pasta thing, get a little bit of carbs in you, and then you're ready to go for 10 hours.
I come here to eat the fattest stuff in the world, you know, all these big sausages and burgers and all that stuff.
So pepperoni, how does that work out for you?
At first your stomach rolls a little bit over the hills and with the heat, you start to get a little queasy, but after a while you kind of get used to it, settle in. The grease really is a calming effect for me.
Don't be mistaken. They may be cordial inside this hospitality tent, but as soon as they leave, their game faces are on.
How does she keep a figure with 2 plates
Two
like
plates,
that?
yeah, really.
Yeah.
And trust me, there isn't much of the grease there. And
no, not up there.
No, Marion Champlain there and her daughter Sandra, they do a fantastic job. They've been around this sport a long, long time, cooked for all sorts of people, and they really do keep everybody running here.
And the 66 car doing its best. Spencer, well, showing a bit of class there, off the racing line, trying to get rid of most of the gravel before he comes into the pit lane. We've had 4 hours and 22 minutes. The leader is Nico Prost. He's on lap number 192. Remember, the magic number is 394 for 1,000 miles here at Petit Le Mans, the final round of the American Le Mans Series for season 2012. And look, we've got down to the bare necessities already, and he's happy. Prost, Plowman, Wilkins, the leaders in their classes.
When it comes to fun family getaways, it's got to be Holiday Inn Club Vacations. Room to be yourself.
First day of spring. Oh, my battery is perfect.
Yep, we've been on a battery tender for 6 years.
Oh, I wish I could say the same.
What do you mean?
Old man forgot to plug me in.
Yeah, before I was on a battery tender, I flatlined. Ouch.
Well, at least this couldn't get any worse.
Don't let your batteries become a statistic. Connect a Deltran battery tender. Available at these fine retailers. If it's not a Deltran battery tender, it's just a pretender.
Hey, man. You're supposed to work up a sweat doing the work, not starting your equipment. A friend of mine who's a fireman told me this is what they use when they need stuff to start. This SCF has no ethanol in it, so it can sit in there for months and start up easy every time. Plus, it's pre-mixed with oil, so you can pitch this stuff. Try SCF, the perfect fuels for gas-powered tools.
It's not just what we gave the new Corvette 427 that makes it special. It's what we didn't.
Well, there is the field under the control of the Mazda MPS, the Mazda 3 MPS safety car, and you can just see the lights on the right-hand side of the little blue hatchback, well over 200 horsepower, driving through the front wheels as the pass around has commenced, as in taking the opportunity now. O2 coming in for emergency service, presumably, because the pits cannot be open. So it will be 5 seconds of fuel only, and then they will have to come back again at the end of this pit cycle. So bad news for Guy Cosmo.
You can count to 5 because that's pretty much all the fuel that's allowed to go into this car. 1,001, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is already back out. He is going to have to come back in. So he's going to be at the very back of the GT field by the time we go back to green.
7th position for Guy Cosmo, so it's not the worst thing that could happen, and he stays on the same lap as Jonathan Summit in the BMW 55, which is the next car ahead of him.
Yeah, but he is a lap down to the leader.
Water bottle.
And the in-car camera, the in-car GoPro there, is waving around, making itself shown. That's going to be interesting footage.
There it goes.
Yeah, fallen off the. It was on the mount just next to where the passenger headrest would be. That's not one of our cameras, that's one of the team's cameras or the driver's cameras. They all have the little ones now.
Fascinating to see it swinging around there. You can see that, the G-forces in the car. Yeah, it really swings around pretty rapidly.
It's become a G-force meter and
yes,
not a camera.
Indeed.
No use for actually taking pictures, but great for us. Thank you. on board the Corvette. And again, somebody's asking, I did mention this earlier on, that bar across the top of the Corvette steering wheel. I had a tweet on this. Why do they have a bar and not a proper steering wheel? It's an interesting question. The rules, you see this bar, not the hand, but just as it comes through, that's flat bar right in the middle there. It has to be there because on a GT car you must have a complete wheel. If that was a prototype car, that bar would not need to be there. But because it's a GT, you must have an enclosed steering wheel. It's actually in the construction regulations from the ACO, and I think, if I'm right, it's got actually the shift lights on there as well, on the Corvette. I seem to remember from sticking my head in at various times, and so that's why it looks a little bit different. Flat bottom steering wheel. See, look at the that's the that's the Porsche, and that is Sean Johnson back in behind the wheel of the JDX number 11, and that is a much more traditional steering wheel, and indeed traditional shifter as well. Sequential box, of course, but no paddle shift on the Cup cars. Sean having his first race in the American Le Mans series, although of course he has been dominating the IMSA GT3 Cup powered by Yokohama. You see him having to change up and down the box. Use the clutch to come down as well, interestingly, on a sequential box. Up and down the box. And that is the RSR version of the Porsche, which is the 48 car. That with no gear stick and paddle shift, and a change of radio station there as well. It's the Chopard Porsche of Paul Miller Racing. And now the BMW with the, again, not a sat-nav in front of the driver. That's how he sees out of the back. They've got a rearward-facing camera on the Crown Plaza BMWs, running the Dunlop tyres, of course. And the team car. The thing we have noticed this year, actually, is the vibration that you get on the BMW onboard cameras. There's a little more than some of the other GT machines. That high-revving V8 engine, the motorsport stitching on the top of the wheel there, the red, white and blue, that's there to show the driver when the wheel is straight ahead, because if you're sort of getting crossed up and opposite lock, sometimes it's a little difficult to know whether the wheel's left, right or in the middle. Frankly, at that stage you've probably got other things on your mind. And the Viper, SRT Viper, flat bottom steering wheel, curved top. So that's kind of the hybrid version of the one we're looking at again, though, with paddle shift on that car. And all the steering wheels, of course, quick removal with that copper-coloured bar you can see there. You pull that back towards you, it disengages the steering wheel for the splines to enable you to get in and out easier. Now, the pit lane has been open for prototypes as we're on board with the 95 level 5 car. That's Christophe Bouchou, the Frenchman at the wheel. Let's see who will take service. Well, Christophe he comes in early. Relatively late decision by the prototype ahead of him, and Nicolas Prost from Rebellion definitely decides it's a good time to have service for the Michelin-tired Toyota engined Rebellion Lola Coupe. Half-distance lap as well, spot on as they get into us. And Jamie Howe is waiting down at the Rebellion pit for the 12 car. Beautiful coachwork, great looking car, and right on his marks.
And Nicolas Prost has hit his marks perfectly. It looks like they are going to make this a tire stop as well. Both the P2 class cars are also in pit lane behind them. This was another fuel-only stop for Rebellion Racing. These tires have several laps on them right now. There are at least 2.5 stints on them, so this is a great tire run for Rebellion Racing, Kelly.
P2 leader, the 37 Conquest car, came in for fuel only as they had done a full service stop the last time around. Very quick for the 37, Rick.
Yeah, up here with the 055 car, they've done a driver change. Dario Franchitti gets out of the car. His brother Marino Franchitti gets in the car. That's it. They're a little bit earlier than they planned on coming in. They just want to take advantage of the yellow.
Yeah, and that's a smart move, because although they've lost a little bit of track position, they're under full course caution, so they get the tyre change, which is an absolute time here, of course, means that they've effectively got a tyre change there for nothing in the 0.55.
That's exactly right. And the number 12 car, by my record, last time it changed its tyres on lap 107, so it's done just about 90 laps on this set of tyres. That's pretty impressive.
It's, what, 2.5 miles? So that's impressive. The guys from Michelin will be getting good data for that. I noticed Donnie Wilson down in the pits working again for Michelin, one of the real stars of the American Le Mans series from behind the wall, at least, and there's just as much talent on and behind the wall as there is in the car with the team members and the support staff. And Donnie was one of the guys behind the Paynos. He was the tyre technician on the front engine Paynos, going back through the years, working with the GT teams this weekend, I noticed. Gunnar Jeanette. And before anybody asks, I don't know, then that's an answer to when does the Delta Wing come in? GTs, prototypes, or everyone? I guess everyone is when it can come in.
Prototype.
It does come in with the prototypes. Okay, thank you, Jeremy. I knew you would have asked I could feel people going for the Twitter, even as we were talking there.
Lasted on lap 163, I think.
Do we know how many pit stops it's made, Jeremy? That's something that is going to be of interest, I think.
It's made quite a few pit stops. It's 6 apparently, but it stopped under yellow a couple of times. I don't think it's had any penalties, but
no.
It's shown to have making pits 6 stops, which is kind of surprising actually.
So after the prototype lap for pit stops, so follows the GTs. And the chrome Ferrari comes to a halt.
This will be a full service stop. Tony Vilander getting out of the number 01 Ferrari. Scott Sharp will be getting back in for his 2nd time in this race. He's been coming here since he was a little kid, watching his dad race in SCCA. It's his 6th time doing Petit Le Mans. He told me this one is a great shot at winning in the GT category. The team has done nothing but get stronger as the season goes on. Right now, everything going to plan, Kelly.
We've got both the 3 and 4 Corvettes in. Looks like it's going to be a full service for the number 4 that held the 2nd position, and for the number 3. Now these two crews, these pit crews, are competitive with each other. They both want to do a great job. Of course, as we've been talking about all along, the number 4 has the championship, and they're out of the pits first. A very quick stop for the number 4, a bit longer here on the number 3 as they wrap up the tire change. And Antonio Garcia back out.
Boy, both of the BMWs, 56 and 55, come in, do their full services. They switch out drivers and they're away. Very crowded pit lane, Jamie.
The number 45 and number 44 Flying Lizard Motorsports cars came in. Number 45 pitted from the 3rd place position. They did do a driver change. Patrick Long is now behind the wheel with 4 new Michelin tires and 2 new drink bottles.
Magnificent work by all of our pit lane team in a very crowded pit lane. We've just tripped over the half distance. 198 just gone over. And, here is our Forza mid-race recap. 500 miles. It's our 3rd full course caution, still the number 12 of Nicola Prost, the Rebellion Toyota Lola Coupe, leading the race. 11 penalties, and a lot of those being for pit lane infractions, getting into the pit lane, not least of that. And in the American Le Mans Series Championship hunt, problems for the 6 and the 16. Now 51 and 52 laps off the lead. And the Delta Wing update, well, if it was a car that was running to regulations and if it was being scored, we reckon it'd be 5th overall. In fact, actually, as it goes through now, it would be 4th overall. But of course, it's not built to regulations. It's here as an unclassified invitation car. But nonetheless, proof at least of its longevity, which it didn't get an opportunity to do at Le Mans, of course, because it wasn't allowed to come back and complete the rest of the race, which I think was a little bit odd. Let's head down to the pit lane. Dario Franchitti has just jumped out of the 0.55. He had a pretty good run, did get a penalty as well though. Let's hear what the multiple IndyCar and Indy 500 champion has to say about his 5th run in the American Le Mans Series.
Well, I would say even with the penalty, I think Dario feels this one has gone much better than his other attempts here at Road Atlanta.
Well, I did a lot more laps.
Let's talk about first off, let's talk about what the car was like. I mean, you've been out there, you had a chance to run in all the traffic. What's it like?
The Honda's very good. The guys at level 5 have done a great job with it. Marino has done a great job setting it up this week. And I felt, wow, those Ferraris are loud, aren't they? It's not even a nice noise. And
you're talking about Marino and how things have gone.
The car was good. You know, and the biggest thing for me was just patience in traffic. And 99 out of 100 moves, I was patient enough. In that one move, I put my nose in, and I thought he'd seen me, and he hadn't, and that was it. So I'm a bit upset with myself for that one. I shouldn't have put myself in the position. I felt he turned in when I was quite far alongside, but I shouldn't have put myself in that position. So a bit annoyed with myself right now. But I think the car's good enough to win if we have a clean race. And a lot of fun though, really a lot of fun out there.
I was about to ask, I mean, most of the other IndyCar guys are not out here. I mean, you and Ryan Hunter-Reay are the 2 loners. Why not you're out kicking up your feet someplace? Why are you out here?
Well, they're all in Australia. Most of the guys are in Australia. I think Rubens is in Brazil doing stock car races, so we're all over the place really, but Chip wasn't quite so happy for me to do the Australia race. When I said I wanted to come here and do it, Chip was great about it. The fact I was going to race with Marino, I was going to come and spectate anyway when the Australia thing was off, and the level 5 guys said, "Hey, come and play." So I'm really happy with that. Got to thank them. Got to thank Chip and the Target guys for letting me do the race. And I'm having a blast working with Marino. He's so much fun.
I did notice Chip on pit lane a little bit earlier, so he's out here keeping an eye on his investment.
That's exactly the words he used. I don't know if he's talking about the Delta Wing or me.
Either way, once again, Dario Franchitti in the 0.55 car, leading at one point most of the way, and other than that one little incident he talked about, it's gone smoothly.
Great to see him. Great to see him out in the competition. What he was talking about, the Australian gig, is the Gold Coast 600 Surface Paradise, the Australian V8 series, and the guys down there, and there's I think something like 28 international drivers have gone down to that. As the sun is still shining here, great opportunity before we go racing to get back to Justin Bell out there enjoying the atmosphere that is unique to Road Atlanta and Petit Le Mans.
Oh, you've made it to the top. I love that segue right here at Petit.
My way around, yes, it's an easy way around. Nobody's stopping me.
So are you a long-term sports car fan?
I am. Yes, I'm from England, so I'm a big fan of sports car racing. I race myself.
How did I know that this was a slightly superior being?
There's such an enthusiastic crowd. More so here than back home, than back in England. I think look around you. It's just wonderful here. Everybody loves it.
Well, thank you very much. Certainly, we'll favour that one.
How does he get the Segway over the Atlantic? That's Steve Tarrant at Legless Marshall. Hello, Steve. I know that you're watching and listening. He's normally up at turn number 7. A Guinness Book of World Record holders for the longest distance in 24 hours. For the longest distance in 24 hours on an electric scooter. One of the marshals from 106B at Le Mans. Clearly, that's not the real Steve Tarrant, but he's here in figure and spirit because he's sitting at home listening, and the guys over at turn 7 where he normally marshals have made sure that his likeness is here. And congratulations on the world record as well, Steve. I enjoyed watching you doing that up at the Peterborough Speedway area, and we'll hopefully find you somewhere else to do a few more miles on that electric scooter next year. Well, you heard it, we're going back to green, and it's lap 200 that brings the green flag back out. Nicola Prost will have to fight his way through the traffic. He's there, you can see the cycling headlights on the 12 car going through your picture right now as it heads up the hill, and he's got now to stay out of trouble. Plowman in second place leading the P2 category, but Marino Franchitti right up his tailpipes as they went across the line, and that is on board with Marino. And Plowy's has Plowy already dropped behind him? Is that Plowy next for one up? I can't see, they're so close together. Massive wiggle as he goes past the prototype on the inside. That's his team car. And there is one of the LMPC cars. Not there, Marino. No, he stays out. That's the 52 car's already had its problem. And indeed, 37 is behind him, we've been told from our spotters on the course. So Marino has gone back into the lead of P2 on that restart. Sharp move by the Scotsman.
Yeah, must have made that move in turn 1 of heavy traffic that would have been down there. Look, heavy traffic on the back straight as well.
And there is the 37 coming under pressure.
Along with the 35 car, the two Morgan Nissans there together.
35, Olivier Pla is 4 laps away from 5 laps away from that battle.
Yeah, they had that problem, lengthy pit stop.
It's a shame, actually.
Pole-sitting car.
Shame, actually, because I fancied those guys to be up. The super quick P2 cars have qualifying was fantastic. We had 8 cars, 9 cars in nighttime practice within 0.2 of a second of each other. Slightly split up during the race, but still Marino, Martin, and looking down, Brendan Hartley now has taken over the 118 car from Warren Hughes, and he's back up into 3rd place ahead of Christophe Bouchou, who's only 4 seconds behind him. So Bouchou, watch out for the 118 car just ahead of him. Now on board with Marino, 2 ahead of us is Plowy. Oh, Plowy had to check up there and cost him a little bit of momentum. Marino picks his line, sticks with it. Watch now, still just ahead of us is the Plowman car. That's his teammate ahead of him, and Plowman's gone. Plowman's behind him already as he lifted off.
Yeah, got him on the inside with 3 wide into turn 1 there. Plowy was just in the wrong place at the wrong time there, unfortunately for him.
He just had to check up a moment, and that was all Marino needed. Picked his line between the 37 and the Ferrari and went through.
This is going to be an interesting battle now next few laps. We've got the 2 level 5 cars there. We've got Olivier Pla, she's fallen back a little bit that time around, which is a bit of a surprise. And then behind them is Martin Plowman as well. So a pretty strong trail of cars here. It was Mark Wilkins that led the field to the green flag. He is the PC leader for Core Autosport. In fact, he has a whole lap advantage over the sister car, the 05 of Ricardo Gonzalez.
Ollie Gavin leading the GT category. Scott Sharp and Jörg Bergmeister within 3 seconds of him. Now, which car is
Gavin
that
must
ahead
have
of him?
got
He's
past Sharp then.
Well, that might be the other car. Yeah, that's Ollie Gavin.
This is 1, 2, 3, 4. There's
the yellow
first
mirrors.
Corvette.
That is the 01 car. That is behind. So he's got the Or one behind him, yep. And it was the other Ferrari. Tell you what was throwing me out, it was the silver rear end of the broken Ferrari. That's what I was staring at in the distance, thinking that was the team car, but of course that's the 60 car. So Ollie Gavin back in the lead, having got past Scott Sharp like this into turn number 6. Well, this is exactly where Sharpie had the problem before, remember? Just drifted a little bit wide, and that looks like earlier on, except there wasn't quite as much of a wobble from Sharpie.
There wasn't, but once again, a very decisive move there by Oliver Gavin, gets him back into the lead of GT. This battle has been back and forth, but now it seems that the Corvettes are coming perhaps more into their own. The Ferraris were very, very strong a couple of stints ago, particularly with Johannes van Overbeek and with Tony Wielander at the wheel of that 0-1 car. It looked like nobody was going to catch them, but right now it's very much game on in GT. So we've got the Corvette out in front, we have the Ferrari in second, a Porsche in third.
Yeah, I do like it. I do like the fact we've got so much variety in those top positions of GT. Ryan Sellers up to 7th in the Falcon Porsche.
Yeah, a couple of laps off the ultimate pace in GT. And behind him now is Guy Cosmo. And behind Guy Cosmo, Kuno Whitmer in the number 91 Viper. Those three cars, number 17, 02 and 91, all on the same lap.
Plowman now just 3 seconds behind Marino, or should I say nearly 4 seconds, and dropping away a little bit. Bit of a battle beginning to form up behind that, with Brendan Hartley, Christophe Bouchou and Matthias Besch in positions 3, 4 and 5 in the P2 category, 5, 6 and 7 overall, and they're under 10 seconds apart after that restart. But look at this GT battle, can't take your eyes off it for a moment. BMW looking to make an opportunist manoeuvre, can't get it done. And that BMW is the 55 car of Jonathan Summerton. He's a lap off the leaders, of course, and trying to get back through. Excuse me, that's a 56 car. And he's several laps back after that problem with the brakes.
Yeah, he's 3 laps back now.
But he's trying to get one back here, Jeremy,
yeah,
and that's key, isn't it? When you know, you've got to think you're not going to go from here to the end of the race. Just trailing something off the left rear there. He's picked up some kind of debris. And there behind him is Jonathan Summerton, who's dragging back up to this battle as well. Yeah, just a bit of tape, I think. That's the 55 of Summerton.
Summerton set the fastest lap of the BMWs at VIR last time around, if I'm not mistaken. He certainly turns a very competitive lap times. He hasn't had an awful lot of seat time this year, but the single-seater convert is very much trying to take advantage of his opportunity he's been given by Bobby Rahal and the RLL team. And certainly he's made a good home for himself, I think, now at BMW, and relishing this chance to shine.
So, Bergmeister and Sharp, Uwe Elson, Bergmeister and Garcia with Olsen sitting in behind them and just dropping back for a moment. Scott Sharp is the car up the road, and further ahead of that is Ollie Gavin, now by 5 seconds. He's really made his bid for freedom there. Lap 207 of 394. There is your leader in GT, Ollie Gavin. And look what 5 seconds looks like on the track. There is Scott Sharp looking back down towards the apex of turn number 8, and then that battle for third position. Uwe Alton, the interloper there in the 56 car. Well, is it Uwe Alton? I'll have that checked.
Mueller's scoring.
Yeah, but we've had that issue before, so it might be a transponder problem. Try and get a visual on the onboard for you. Through comes the 20 car, Tony Burgess, back up into 4th position, and just 31 seconds behind. No, he's not. He's laps behind Martin Plowman and Marino. Excuse me.
He's 1 lap behind those two, and for not relevant in the overall classification because the Delta Wing is unclassified. But Gunnar Janetti, he's about 25 seconds ahead of Tony Burgess right now.
There's Toli Vilander being attended to. The tough life of a racing driver. He's being readied to speak to us. As you can see, that means relaxing the shoulders. That's what we need, Jeremy, isn't it?
I had a massage once in my life, nearly killed me.
Ah, fingers Tyler, where are you when we need you? It's a great little battles out on the circuit all over the place. It looks like Scott Sharp's been held up and allowed the Porsche and the Corvette 45 and 3 just to gain on them a little bit.
Yeah.
That was nice driving actually by Jörg Bergmeister, because he didn't have the optimum run to turn 1, but he defended his position. Oh, the 60 and the 02 involved at turn 1, and that is Matt Griffin again at the same point on the circuit. And in the 02 it's Guy Cosmo, and that's twice that Matt Griffin has been off at turn 1, and I don't think I've ever said that in the single race meeting in my life. And everybody's going very slowly at the top of the hill.
Track is still green. Track is still green. Let me know how the car is.
Oh dear me.
Hey guys,
that is a very damaged AF Corsa car. Look at the bottom of the picture. Looks like again that happened early in the corner, Jeremy, and the very sensible Marshall moving out of the way.
2 Ferraris getting it together there, one in GTE AM, so slightly older specification, and you can see there Guy Cosmo dives down the inside, and way too late. It seemed to me Matt Griffin just turned into the corner, so that was a very strange looking incident. Very strange.
And a very, very pre-owned Ferrari. Well, he did the left-hand side earlier on. Now he's done the right-hand side as well.
No caution yet though. So he's got the car back going again.
It's got no real.
So I'm getting back to the pits, but slowly.
It's been a funny day for the the 02 in that car, because of course it was the 02 who took off the back bumper of that car earlier on when Pier Giuseppe Perezzini was driving the car. Matt then went off, he said, after being forced wide at turn 1 and scraped all the left-hand side of the car. Now he's got damage on the right. Let's go back a little bit further back down the front straight and see. This is the earlier moment when the rear bumper was dislodged. Pier Giuseppe Perezzini. I'm not sure that was Guy Cosmo at the wheel at that point, in fairness, but that was the 02 car, so that's the second time these two have got together, albeit with different drivers in both of them, I believe. Once again, our tape apes, the guys who, it's not tape nowadays, but we can't call them digital dogs or anything like that. They'll always be the tape apes. Thank you, team. We should mention our camera operators as well at this point, because it's a long day for them as well out in the weather, and they've been doing great jobs to get us these fabulous images from the final round of the American Le Mans series, not just today but throughout the whole season. So thanks, team. There is the 02, which seemingly has continued without much problem.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly didn't make any firm contact with anything, I think, other than the other Ferrari. It just sort of closed the door on him, but I think he seems to be have got away unscathed, but certainly not the case for the number 60 car of Matt Griffin. Still, I think he's not yet made it back to the pit lane. That has given a pretty good advantage in this GTE AM class now to the number 67 car with Raymond Narak at the wheel.
Had a little look there on the Toyota, but on the Toyota powered Lotus that was ahead of him, the Evora, but thought better of it this time. Guy again coming from a long way back into that corner. Turn number 1. Just 4 seconds, still rather 4 seconds between Franchitti and Plowman in the P2 battle. Hartley and Bouchou is hotting up, 6th and 7th, the 118 and the 95, just 8 tenths between them. And Matthias Besch is only another 8 seconds further back, but here comes Matt Griffin, the normally jovial Irishman. I can't imagine he's going to be that happy and smiley today. Big connoisseur of red wine, and he'll want a splash or two of that tonight to drown his sorrows. Not been the best day in the office, I'm afraid, for Matt. Such a very good development and race driver, the man behind pretty much all of the GT3 development on the 458 Italia. And looks like a driver change coming, but this is not going to be a hurried pit stop. So as we head towards the 5-hour mark, he's come behind the wall. I think that one's going to be waved behind the wall. I can't believe they're sending him back out again. The huge crowd that is gathered around the 10A and B complex has stayed there for much longer than I can remember into the race. And there's several deep at the fence sides as well, enjoying watching Nicola Prost, Marino Franchitti, along with Wilkins, Gavin and Johnson leading their respective classes here at the final round of ALMS 2012. It's Petit Le Mans. Oh, love it, love it, love it. Look at the scenery around Road Atlanta here at Brazelton. And also just look, the trees changing this time of year is just great. It's a fabulous time to have a motor race around here. Very pretty scenery. The Lake Lanier Lakes area just about 15 minutes away. And the serpentine look of the 2.5 miles, 2.54 miles around Road Atlanta, always a joy. Just in the distance there, the Lanier Speedway. I've had some very pleasant Saturday nights there over the years when we used to have the early season race. I was there a couple of times. Warren Hughes with us once, actually, another time that he came and didn't get to drive here. Watching the short track racing. Great part of the world to come and watch motor racing.
Closed down now, I think, isn't it, the Lanier race?
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't think
what a disaster.
Certainly, unless they've reopened it again, but it certainly did close down. But yeah, huge history there. You can see it just across the other side of the street. It's really all it is, across the other side of Winder Highway.
Yeah, great area towards Dawsonville, of course, just about 8 or 10 miles the other direction. And
Bill Elliott.
Yeah, awesome Bill from Dawsonville.
That's right.
And great history of motor racing around these parts. And there is the Nissan Delta Wing, and that's Gunnar, I think, on board that, is it, at the moment? Just catch a sight of the fluorescent markings on his helmet. Meantime, let's head back to the 055 with Scott Tucker on. No, I tell a lie. I saw a dark coloured helmet, and I just come in and I see the bright orange gloves of Marino Franchitti driving that car.
Yeah, it's in second place overall still. Martin Plowman in the number 37 car. He's only about a couple or 3 seconds behind Marino Franchitti. So now, having lost the class lead in P2, Martin Plowman hanging on there, like I say, just 2 or 3 seconds back in that Conquest Endurance car. So that battle for the class lead in P2 and second place overall still very much ongoing. And the 4th place overall in the classification, even though it's unclassified, is this car right here, the Delta Wing. As we see the 02 car coming back into the pits. Guy Cosmo, we saw him had involved in that incident with the Matt Griffin number 60 car a little while ago.
Yeah, and he's going to be standing still for a very long time, Jamie.
And Guy Cosmo got the word that it's stop and hold for 2 minutes from his engineer, James Malik. The team calls him Chachi. The conversation back and forth went like this. Chachi said, Guy, you've got an avoidable contact penalty. You have to hold for 2 minutes because you're on probation. Guy Cosmo couldn't believe it. He apologized to his guys. He said, I'm sorry. Chachi said, it's all right. Just brush it off. It's going to feel like forever. Once it's over, you can go back out and race.
Here's what happened, shaking the head from Guy Cosmo. And I'm not sure me and my co-commentator have the same view about this, but we'll have a look and see what went. And it's turn 1, it's quick entry. We're on board with Guy, goes up the insides.
Well, to me, Matt Griffin left the door wide open there, and he should have seen that Guy Cosmo was diving down here. So they're in different classes. It's not a battle for position. Clearly the 0-2 car is a lot faster. At that point, why not just let him go? Honestly, I can't quite see that one. Admittedly, yeah, when the contact was actually made, the 0-2 car wasn't completely alongside him because he was trying to back out of it at the last minute, I think, because he saw the 60 car coming across. But I don't know, I'm not so sure I agree with that one, but that's why I'm not the chief steward, certainly.
So I just think he came from a bit far back and put himself in a position where he couldn't get through.
Yep.
And it's always beholding on the car behind to make a clean pass.
Fair comment.
And the thing that we just said to an inexperienced driver this morning, who, touch wood, has been doing very well so far, is drive your line and stay on your line, don't waver from your line, and be as consistent as you can. Let's get back to GT and leave that. Jeremy and I'll do rock, paper, scissors for that and a bit of arm wrestling later on. Watching the GT battle with the number 4 Ollie Gavin doing a sterling job out in the lead by some 18 seconds now. The battle for second and third in GT is tightened up. It's just half a minute as out goes, I am sure, a very unhappy Guy Cosmo. Now what he's got to do now is take a few in through the nose, out through the mouth, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Just calm down and do a couple of steady laps and don't put yourself in that position again. Jeremy mentioned the probation there, and we should really explain what that's been all about, Jeremy.
Yeah, he was involved in an incident towards the end of the race at Baltimore with one of the Vipers, wasn't he? He dived down the inside there, and again, that was a slightly optimistic move, perhaps. And he was put on probation as a result of that one. The probation would stand till the end of the season, so if he was involved in any more questionable incidents before the end of the season, then he knew he was going to get a harsher penalty, and that is what was determined on this occasion.
Just seeing there the way that Ollie Gavin got past Scott Sharp for the lead. He's pulled out 18 seconds since then. That's a pretty solid run, and he does that. Ollie has the ability to do that. He's just popped out in what, half a dozen, 10 laps, and popped out 18 seconds, and now settles back into the 120, 121 range.
He really has done a fantastic job this season, has Oliver Gavin. Absolutely superb. Barely put a wheel wrong all the way through. He's been super fast, super consistent. I think that's probably the biggest lead that anybody has had in the GT class today, or in fact, probably for much of the season, actually.
So on board as we go past the number 11, Sean Johnson, in third position at the moment in GTC, sitting in 32nd overall. And just starting to get the feel of a little bit of the sun going down. You can see the changing colours from the Porsche aerial cam there as we look down on the S's. That looks completely different from that angle, doesn't it? As the cars are sweeping through that S's section up to turn number 5. You did get just an idea of how much wooded area there is around Petit Le Mans and Road Atlanta rather, and just how many cars there are here as well. Turned up here first thing Wednesday morning, having arrived on Tuesday evening. I don't think I've seen so many people trackside at that point for a very long time. So clearly the absence of the works cars that we've had in recent years has made not a jot of difference to the spectators here, and frankly, why should it? The speed at the head of the field being provided at the moment by the Rebellion of Neil Yarney, as Marino Franchitti gets a little sideways coming out of 7, corrects that with a bit of opposite lock.
Yeah, the number 45 car, Jörg Bergmeister, he was up in that lead battle, or certainly the battle for second at least in GT. He's now a lap down in 4th place in the class, so I think there must have been an unscheduled pit stop for car number 45. Maybe we can find out our guys down in the pits. Taro Koki can hear us. Maybe he can hustle along and find out what happened to number 45 car, because he came into the pits during that last caution period along with all the other leaders in GT, but all of a sudden he's a lap down to the rest of them.
The 0-2 back in the pits. 2 reasons for that, and one of them you can see on the side of the car. Jamie?
The damage is pretty minimal. They were going to bring Guy in before he had to serve that penalty. Of course, they went ahead and wait until afterwards. Guy is going to stay in the car. The team had the Bearbon, the racer's tape, we call it, out and ready to repair some of the damage. I talked to James Malik, the crew chief, and he told me everything in the car mechanically is fine. All this is cosmetic. Team taking an extra second to tighten some tighten some of the screws here. They are losing a little bit of time on pit lane, but nothing. Oh, they're putting the mirror back on. They have to put the mirror back on the car. I didn't notice that was missing. That's going to be important, especially when the nighttime rolls around. The guy will say in the car he apologized to the team. They said, don't worry about it. You guys, you're out there racing. You have to go do your thing. Losing a little bit of time here, but the team is going around the car just to make sure it's clean everywhere else. They're blowing out the radiators. This is the kind of stuff they normally don't take the time to do on a green flag pit stop, but because he has to have that mirror, they're going to go ahead and do it, so the car is going to be pretty clean by the time Guy gets back out.
And nicely cooled as well with that cool air going through. Earlier on, you remember the 60 car had one hanging down as well, and it had to go behind the wall to get that fixed. That was because that had the electric motors in it to be adjusted from the inside. Quite clearly there, Jeremy is in paroxysms of laughter at the moment because it's the old, it's left a bit, right a bit.
Up a bit, down a bit, should we say, Guy Cosmo.
Bernie the Bolt, please.
To his crew member there, and but they finally got that car fixed. They got the mirror back on again, and away goes Guy Cosmo, somewhat chastened now, and down into 10th place, I think, perhaps 11th in GT. Certainly a costly pit stop there, and you know, that penalty cost him badly enough as well. Now having to come in and replace the mirror as well, cost him a lot of time. There was a number 4 Corvette out in front. 17.5 seconds last time around, the advantage over the second place car in GT of Scott Sharp. Not too far behind Scott Sharp is Antonio Garcia in car number 3, the second of the Corvettes. So Corvettes first and third, sandwiching the 0-1 Ferrari. And in fourth place, Jörg Bergmeister, a lap down now, as I say, in the third best place of the Flying Lizard Porsches. And Jonathan Summerton also 1 lap down, number 55 BMW. I know Johnny's got his eyes on because he got that in the pool for the GT class, but out in the front there, it's still Nicola Prost. Advantage now about 3 laps over Marino Franchitti in the 055 car, and here is this battle now. Actually, I think that was that was Guy Cosmo moving over to let the class leader go through. So Oliver Gavin, that's 210 laps now in the books for Oliver Gavin. We are 5 hours, just over 5 hours now gone in the race, so we're over halfway, whichever way you look at it, and it's certainly been run at quite a fast pace. We saw those 2 early caution periods that came within a few minutes of each other, and then we went 2.5 hours before we had another yellow, so the pace of the race now, John, is actually pretty quick.
Yeah, and it's interesting, isn't it? Nicola Prost has dropped down into he was in the 13s and the 14s for quite a while, and that's what he's doing right now. The head of the field, and he's pulled out now, what, 4-lap advantage, and this is exactly what the guys at Rebellion wanted, and fair play to them for committing to this race. It would have been easy to say no, let's not bother, particularly after the problems they had at Bahrain. And
yeah,
for those guys to have done, let's just remember that in less than 6 weeks they've done 6 hours of Brazil, 6 hours of Bahrain, including rebuilding a car, reshelling a car, then here with 1 car, Fuji with 2 cars, here with 1 car, and China next weekend with 2 cars. I mean, talk about punishing schedule, guys. And these are all 6-hour plus races, and potentially something near 8 or 9 hours here, of course. So well done to the Rebellion boys and Bart Hayden, and indeed their sponsor, for sort of saying to them, let's do it. The guys at Rebellion were very, very confident about sending them out here to take part in this race. And just as in the European Le Mans series a few years ago when we had no works entry, it spices up the P1, and it still remains. Maybe we haven't had a word with Bart Hayden yet, actually, and I know he'll be keeping everything crossed sitting up there on the perch, but it might be worth having a chat with him if we can, and just seeing what his plans are for next year, because quite clearly they love racing in America, and there is an opportunity, of course, if they don't want to do the whole WEC season. And there's no P1s in the ELMS, as we've just found out today, I think as expected. Maybe 1 or 2 of those lovely, beautiful coupes with the Toyota power to be here next year. Now, Christophe Bouchou has just gone through into 3rd place in P2. Now, earlier on, we were wondering what happened to the 45 Flying Lizard. And is that the 60 car again? You are kidding me. It's got an ALMS magnet in it, clearly.
Goodness me.
Well, well, well. That's relatively recently. Is it still back in that car? It's not, is it? He jumped out. Dear me. Looks like an extra from a Bond movie. Let's have a look again. And not the smartest piece of driving I've ever seen from Jörg Bergmeister either.
Very strange, most unlike him. And we talked about the fact that it had lost a lap to the other GT leaders. Whether that was beforehand or afterwards, I'm not quite sure.
That was the most recent incident.
Yeah, well.
Well, that's not why it disappeared, because it's had an incident. Presumably, it had an incident before that as well, because that was.
It's pretty stout content.
Yeah,
lucky
that
if it doesn't get penalised for that, I would think.
Well, I think we'll be looking at it, certainly.
Fifth lap, that left front looks like it's dropping.
Now, that's interesting. That was the voice of Thomas Blam, who's the strategist on the pit wall, and they're telling Jörg Bergmeister that he's losing pressure in the left front.
We got on camera.
They're looking at it now. Now, this is what happened earlier on. Look at the top of the picture, and it's the same point, but that time he gets tapped. Is that the 9 car? Yes, it is the 9 car. That looked like a bit of contact, or at least he was forced offline there, Jeremy.
Yeah, I think that was Bruno Junqueira looking at the colours of the helmet on the number 9 RS Arco. I can see all the grass in the grill, the front grill. So that would be why the number 45 car made that extra pit stop, certainly. And Bruno Junqueira there, pretty stout contact. But again, I don't know whether there was a penalty called that, because certainly Bruno Junqueira was onto pit lane shortly after the previous caution period. He'd been running 3rd in the class. He made an extra pit stop, that dropped him to 4th.
And don't forget, you can listen to
We'll let you know.
Pit Now, as you hear. You can listen to all the Flying Lizard pit lane communication by going to their website, www.lizardms.com. One of the majority of the American Le Mans Series teams who have websites. www.americanlemans.com for all the resources for race weekend. And if you're on Twitter and have to step away from your computer or your television, then at ALMS Notes on Twitter, follow them and you'll get a summary of what's going on from not just on the track but the teams as well. It is so much easier to follow endurance racing now than ever before. Bergmeister staying in the car. Let's have a look at that BBS wheel rim. And Jamie Howe is down at the 45 pit.
The crew took the chance to go ahead and top it off with fuel as well. Quick work getting to 4 new tires on the car. Very quick pit stop. They did not take any extra time to walk around and look at any other potential damage. It was just 4 new tires and fuel for Jörg Bergmeister.
Yeah. They gave it a little shake and had a look at it. I think it's okay. There was a bit of damage to the outside wheel rim of the front left, but out goes Jörg Bergmeister away. And that 45 car holding 4th position. Just have given that up actually to Jonathan Summerton in the 55 BMW.
Yeah, well done.
Get in, he's back in the money again. Good lad. The troubled 16 Dyson. Here's the Nissan Delta Wing in the pit lane. Now we're going to get another set of 4-inch front tyres on this. It appears that we are. 3 lug nuts on the right front, 3 on the back. Just a single racing one on the rear end of the car with a more regular look to the back end of that car. It's running more regular racing wheels, but 3 standard lug nuts on the front of those wheels. And Taro Koki is down there watching the slightly unconventional pit stop. Taro.
So the Delta Wing has those orange mirrors and the orange roll bars. Actually, those were put in this week after the incident during practice. They've also done some additional changes to increase downforce. They've added 2% more on the vortex generator, which goes to on the side of the car. And actually, they've added a gurney to the back of the car to increase optimum airflow and more downforce.
Now that's very interesting actually, because of course this car originally was designed for the long open spaces of the 8.5 miles of Circuit de la Sarthe, the Le Mans 24-hour race, and clearly learning about how this car works under the fact that the vortex generator that he was talking about is the skirt along the side of the car that helps to direct the air underneath the car. Look, there's no other wings on this car, Jeremy, and that is the thing that is revolutionary about it. The whole bodywork is generating the downforce on this car, and there is that big stick-up gurney flap on the back, where at Le Mans that dropped down at speed and actually used a part from a Nissan Juke to electronically affect that up and down, a bit like the DRS in Formula 1. But as you see it going away there, you can see the very upright 4-part rear gurney flap that's been added on just to give it a little more downforce, and you see it kind of moving around trying to get the tyres up to it's very, very light on its feet.
It is, and it is, it's running primarily, as you said, Le Mans specification aero here. Generally speaking, you probably want to run where you definitely normally want to run more aero, more downforce on the car, because it's a slower average lap time than at the Circuit de la Sarthe in France. So, but they come in with a Le Mans spec. They haven't developed the car specifically for Road Atlanta, but they have done about 1,000 miles of testing here over the last few weeks to get ready for this event.
And in comes the Flying Lizard number 45, Jörg Bergmeister. Jeremy, you were spot on, he didn't get away with it. Stop plus 60, which is the standard first offence stop for avoidable contact. So in he comes. I would just pay off one thing about the Nissan Delta Wing. It was never designed to run anywhere else but Le Mans. Let's not forget that. It was supposed to be a one-off outing for that car. So let's find out why Jörg is there. Watch the top of the screen, and it is off the track and into the Ferrari.
Off the track and back on again. Unfortunately, there's another car right there when he came back on again. So for that number 60 car, boy, they've had all sorts of dramas today. They've been subjected to 2 incidents which have been adjudged completely not his fault. So it's really been in the wars through no apparent fault of their own for the most part. But they are still running at least. That number 60 car, however, it's now, 9 laps behind the Porsche of Raymond Narak, car number 67. Which is still Jörg Bergmeister serving that penalty. Again, very, very costly now for number 45 car. They were running on the lead lap before all these dramas unfolded, and now they will be, I think, at least 2 laps down, possibly 3, and outside the top 5 in the class. And actually probably going to drop down to 8th place in GT, in actual fact. Yeah, I think there's the Falcon Tires car, number 17, just ahead of him here. I think that is now the battle for 7th and 8th.
In fact, that's 3 cars battling for position. The 2 Lizards and the Falcon car are all in battle for position here. That's Seth Nyman, the man behind the Flying Lizards, as a very smoky number 8, the Merchant Services car, comes in. That's a very slow stop there. And there is the 95 car in the pit lane.
They're putting fuel in the car right now, but they've got an issue back behind the driver's seat, apparently. They're reaching back in behind Bouchou, trying to find, possible that something kind of popped up, but they're reaching in. Now the question is, do they bring him out of the car, or what do they do? Not quite sure what it is. They've replaced the water bottle. Now they're going to go, the fuel is in, so they're going to go to work on the rest of the car. But once again, they were just reaching back in behind Bouchou. It was almost like something maybe had gone down in back behind the seat, and they were trying to maneuver to get it out. And finally, he just waved off his hand and said, never mind, don't bother.
It's very odd. He's talking to him on the radio. No, that's the speed limit actually he's got there. Now he releases it with his right thumb.
That'll drop that number 95 car back to 4th place in the P2 class right now. It's a 055 car that still leads over Martin Plowman, still in the 37 car. The gap between those 2 cars is about 12 seconds, as Plowman is now shown as coming onto pit lane. I think that will be a scheduled stop for number 37 car, in which case we should be able to expect the other car in shortly thereafter. Yeah, because the 37 and the 055 both pitted on the same lap during the previous caution period.
On Twitter, talking about the Nissan Delta Wing, Simon Biggs, hello Simon, he's tweeted at Specutainment and said, it's funny seeing the GTs getting in the Delta Wing draft as it goes by. Actually, will they get any? It's a very good point, actually, because it is very, very efficient, but it's still making a hole in the air, Jeremy, as any car would.
Yeah, it is a very good question. I'm sure it'll give a bit of a tow to the cars behind it, but I'm sure if they can keep up with it.
Yes. Bouchou then through 10A and B, just feathering the throttle coming out, checks the right mirror to see where that GT car has gone. Just beyond, on the top of the right wheel arch there, you can see the hole above the wheel. Through the louvers you can see the wheel moving, and then you can see some tyre debris just sitting up there. Just a reminder of what it's like offline here. They have been having the track dryers going around the blowers in between the yellow flags if they can, as out of second place, Marino Franchitti is in the pits.
And Marino Franchitti is already out of the car. Scott Tucker is going to get in to do his stint. Remember, Scott Tucker actually started today in the 095, the team car. He ran about 3.5 hours or so in that car. He's been sitting off to the side, relaxing for a while. Marino Franchitti had one stint in this car, taking over from his brother. Now Scott Tucker is going to get in. He's not officially getting points in this car. He's officially getting his points in the 095 car. By the way, that 095 car that was in just a moment ago, turns out it was. They just thought it was a chunk of rubber back behind Christophe Bouchou. I'm not sure they were able to find it, but at least they were able to make it feel a little bit better. They've got almost everything done on this. They've got them buckled in, changing everything out. Now they've just got to replace the water bottle. That's it. Ironically, that's the longest that they've had to get finished. And the 055 car is away.
See the sparks from the gun there as they threw it back against the wall, and it was still turning as it pops out onto the track. He might not be getting points in this car, Scott Tucker, but he could be standing on the top step of the podium with it.
Yeah, we'll see where he comes out in relation now to the number 37 car as well.
I think Plowy has gone through, actually. Oh, and turn one again has problems, and again it's one of the Flying Lizards, and that looks to me very much like one of the ESM Ferraris disappearing away from the... No, it's the Lotus. Yeah. It's the Lotus, another mid-engined car. They've been having a solid run, and here is the third place car in GTC, the JDX Porsche.
Not sure that's
and that is not scheduled at all. Sean Johnson's brought that car in, and the rear deck is up. That's not good news. Taro?
The car just came in. I believe they don't know what is going on yet. There's some debris in the front of the car. They took off the front part of the car. It's very, very dirty, but they had the back open, and they're still trying to figure out what the problem is exactly. Jamie?
The overall leader, Rebellion Racing, has made their scheduled pit stop. Nicolas Prost getting out of the car, Andrea Bellicchi getting behind the wheel of the car for his first stint during the race. He was pretty excited coming into Petit Le Mans because he was excited to race against Guy Smith at Dyson Racing. The two were teammates at Le Mans in 2010 and 2011. He said he wanted to go out there and do battle with them. Not going to happen so much today with the problems that Dyson has had, but nonetheless, things are going to plan for Rebellion Racing. They haven't had hardly a single mishap at all. Every pit stop has been perfect. They've been able to triple stint the Michelin tires. This team is doing everything to a very calculated level. They come in, they clean off the windshield, they clean off the headlights, they fuel the car, they change the tires. Everything is going perfectly to plan. It's a little bit of a hold up here. Not sure what the problem is. It looks like they're putting fluid into the car. That's what happens during racing. These engines need water and they need oil as the race goes on. Rebellion's still running cleanly.
Now, you saw there that the wheel rims on the Rebellion are gold, but the fronts have a red line around them, and there's a good reason for that. It's not just to look pretty. You can see it quite clearly there as it goes over the skyline and down through 3 and 4. A couple of seasons ago, these guys changed from the small front rims to run the same size tyres on the front and the rear. But Jeremy, they're the same size tyres, but the rims have different offsets. So to prevent the crew guys from mixing up the fronts and the rears, they've put the red stripe around the fronts to differentiate them. So that's how they made sure they get the right cars. Now into the pit lane comes the number 4 from the lead of GT, and what a fabulous piece of timing, because just as he came in, and he did make it in, it's gone full course caution. Now if they can turn him around quickly, this could be really good for Ollie Gavin.
Oliver Gavin's going to get out of the number 4. Tommy Milner is going to get in. This team got pretty lucky with this one. The number 3 car came in right before him, though. These GT teams, they've gotten used to running this same strategy. As soon as they see something happen on the racetrack, the crews are so well prepared. They are on the wall and they are ready to come in as soon as possible so that they can get back out there, not lose any time. Having to come in under caution, they can keep on the lead lap while their other GT competitors have to come in and pit.
And the tyres are just about to go back. Oh no, the front left is taking a little time, and it's not seating on the pegs on the hub. There was a little bit of debris or something there. Well done, because if they'd put that on, Jeremy, without that tyre wouldn't have been fastened correctly.
No, that could be absolutely disastrous. So much better to spend a few extra seconds and make sure everything is right than risk something not being right.
Now, here's what happened that caused the caution. We haven't been able to show you that because there was too much going on. That is the aftermath, as the recovery vehicle is there at turn 1. And, well, the Lotus continues on serenely after a bit of rally crossing. And again, early part of the corner, Jeremy.
I mean, that was almost on the straight that they went off there before they'd even turned on. Right at turning point, something must have happened between these two.
There was traffic there, and it's... the other thing I would say is the sun's beginning to set over that corner now, and you do get the sun in your eyes. No, it's the opposite way now, isn't it? It's gone all the way around, so as you can see from those shadows. So forget what I just said there, that was nonsense. Once you get round to turn... through turn 6 and 7 now, that's where it's going to be on the dirty windscreens. As our recovery vehicle tilts it around. So, once again, we've unleashed Justin Bell on an unsuspecting audience, as we've got a yellow flag period to find out a little bit more about the atmosphere, the excitement, and what goes on off the track here at Petit Le Mans.
And finally, I've made my way over to what has to be the most impressive campsite at Petit Le Mans. So, sir, I'm blown away by the level of excellence here at Petit. Every year it gets better and better. What's it like for you as a fan?
This is increasingly getting better every year that I've noticed. We got showers, we've got campgrounds with tents and carpet in it.
Easy for him to say. But look at this, he's right. Down here, I mean, I know I mentioned earlier I thought they were all a bit smelly, but they're not. Look, full working hot shower here right outside the final turn at Petit Le Mans. So as you can see, it's not just about a world-class race, it's also about fans making the most of the Petit Le Mans experience. Kind of makes me disappointed I've got to go back to work.
Work there? Wasn't sure that was in Justin's lexicon. Absolutely. I was up there on Wednesday, and there's a real sense of community. Everyone helping everybody else out to make sure that they get a good experience. And as you can see, there's a few parties been going on there. Back with more from Petit Le Mans next.
Everything we ever thought up. Everything we fight for. Everything we dream of. Everything we are. The new 911. Porsche Identity.
not just what we gave the new Corvette 427 that makes it special. It's what we didn't.
First day of spring. Oh, my battery is perfect.
Yep, we've been on a battery tender for 6 years.
Oh, I wish I could say the same.
What do you mean?
Old man forgot to plug me in.
Yeah, before I was on a battery tender, I flatlined. Ouch.
Well, at least this couldn't get any worse.
Don't let your batteries become a statistic. Connect a Deltran battery tender. Available at these fine retailers. If it's not a Deltran battery tender, it's just a pretender.
When it comes to fun family getaways, it's got to be Holiday Inn Club Vacations. Room to be yourself.
All the excitement of the American Le Mans Series is back.
Great flag and we're racing at Baltimore.
Where technology races into the future and no man is better than his machine. Failure is always a threat when pushing development to its very edge. But survival makes success that much sweeter. This is where technology, passion, and danger meet to create a spectacular orchestra. The American Le Mans Series, presented by Tequila Patron, where the technology of speed and danger is everything.
It's been a year since the unveiling of the prototype that became the Delta Wing, and Michelin's continued to play an important role in the Nissan Delta Wing development that's brought it here to Road Atlanta to compete.
Just 12 months ago here at Road Atlanta, Michelin announced its partnership with the Delta Wing project. The Delta Wing was a car designed to use half the weight, power, and fuel of a conventional prototype. Well, Michelin added yet another challenge, to use half the usual number of tires. So the engineers took their data from previous experience at Le Mans as well as extensive simulations to create these 4-inch wide front tires with the right construction, compound, and extended tire wear that the Delta Wing designers needed. And when they made their debut at Le Mans, they reeled off 6 stints on one set of tires without issue. Now, Road Atlanta is a higher downforce, higher wear track than Le Mans, but engineers still expect to go the full 1,000-mile race on just 3 to 4 sets of tires. That's half of what they would normally run.
And in effect as well, Kelly, the mass of a set of Delta Wing tyres is actually 46% less than a set of conventional prototype tyres. So in that sense, Michelin has virtually achieved a reduction of half before the race even starts. Look at the crowds on the bankside. Nobody's moved. They're having a great time here at Road Atlanta. And Jeremy, I'm delighted to say that your fame and fortune, more the fortune than the fame probably, has brought in an absolute sports car ledge behind us. One of your friends has popped in.
Indeed, Chip Robinson, great to see a long-time driver, of course, with Nissan in the precursor to the American Le Mans Series, the old IMSA Camel GT Series. And Chip, you had a lot of success in those cars, and this is a track that you always absolutely loved.
I did love this track. You know, I've won some here, and of course there's a particular crash which seems to overpower all of my wins here. But you know, this is a great facility, and it just seems to keep getting better and better.
Oh, yeah, because that was on the old track. I was going to say
it was the old track.
What do you think of the? We've got the chicane now down at turn 10A and 10B. What used to be the track used to go much farther down into the dip. There it was a kink to the left.
That's
then
right. Uphill
straight to the bridge. Boy, that was a scary piece of racetrack.
It really was. It was, you know, in our particular cars, in the GTP cars, we had to really put springs in the car just for that dip to keep it from bottoming out too hard, and that really controlled how the car handled around the rest of the track to some degree. It was a really challenging, mentally challenging corner.
Is it true you used to use this side of the bridge abutment there on driver's left to straighten the car up on a really quick lap?
No, I hope not. I don't think I ever did.
You aimed for it, though.
You would aim straight for it, though.
Oh, yeah, but you know, it just, those cars were so fast, and they had so much downforce, and it was a lot of fun to go through that.
Well, you were doing 200 miles an hour or almost.
You know, I think it depended on the car. I don't think the Nissans were quite that fast because we had so much downforce and so much drag on the car. It was just so fast through the corners. And of course, that's what led to the crash. That we had so much downforce that the tires failed on both my car and Jeff's car, and you know, it took the rear wings off.
Yeah, yourself and Jeff Bradman, of course, the two of you had a massive amount of success. It was great to watch those. I remember actually that year you two had the crash. I actually did a race in the supercar series that was running those in a Mazda RX-7 Turbo, and even going through the kick there, through the dip, that car was doing 150, and the front wheels were rubbing on the fenders going through. And I thought it was a bit dodgy, but if I'd have known what you guys were going to do the next day, I'd have got out of the car, I think.
Don't go away, Chip. We'll get back to you in a moment with Chip Robinson in the studio. Let's get down to Rebellion and Jamie Howe, who's got the man with his name over the door, Mr. Rebellion. No, it's not. It's Bart Hayden.
The team manager, Bart Hayden. We know you guys were excited to come and race back in the United States again here at Petit Le Mans. So far, this race seems to be going in your favor. Is that what you expected?
No, we expected a very close battle, and I think you saw early on with the Muscle Milk car that it was ever so tight. I think it's unfortunate for them that they were taken out in the way that they were, and maybe that's kind of spoiled the race a little bit, but clearly now we're just trying to make sure that we keep our noses clean and keep going round. That's the plan, try and stay out of trouble if we can.
There's been a lot of rumors, a lot of conversation going on in the paddock this weekend about the future for Rebellion Racing, perhaps in the United States. Are there any plans for the future with you guys?
There's lots of talk, that's true. We haven't actually decided exactly what we're going to do. As you know, we've just competed the season in the World Endurance Championship where we ended up team champions. So in some ways we don't have much to prove there, but that is the top level of the sports cars. So I don't know, we might try and do a mixed program of some sort.
As Bart said, they are the P1 team champions for the FIA WEC. We certainly would love to have you guys back, but we're glad to see you today.
What a gentleman, as his father was before him, God rest his soul, Hugh Hayden and Bart Hayden, who brought that Rebellion team together under the name Speedy Seba, if you remember. And Speedy Garage is back on the car this weekend, I'm glad to say. Chip Robinson in the studio with us, former IMSA champion. Got to ask you about this, Chip. The news coming just a few weeks ago of the merging of the American Le Mans Series and Grand Am to form the American Super Series, if you like. What a great opportunity for American sports cars to really rebuild itself and take itself forward.
It really is. I mean, it's just a huge opportunity, and you know, I'm really looking forward to see what comes of it. And of course, my son now, who's just starting, you know, he's been go-karting and now he's just getting into cars and really wants to do sports cars. You know, hopefully that'll give a lot more opportunities for young guys like him in the future.
Down in the pit lane with the two BMWs pitting from 4th and 8th position in GT. Full service for the Rahal Letterman Lanigan team, and change of driver. And Jamie is close by in the Flying Lizard pit, who's also in. Jamie?
Both Flying Lizard 44 and 45 Porsches are in, both Chevys are in, but it's the number 01 from Extreme Speed Motorsports that beats them all out of pit lane. A lot of action down here right now. The team's trying to prove what they're made of, and so far it was Extreme Speed who beat them all.
Yeah, pretty busy pit lane. You know, it's interesting. We always have the discussion, Chip, about various different eras, but it's almost impossible, isn't it, to compare across the decades?
It really is. It really is very hard to do that. Of course, you know, in the GTP days, everybody was comparing it to the old Can-Am days and how great they were, and they were great. And the GTP era was, I think, pretty special. You know, when you're in the middle of it, so to speak, I certainly didn't realize how special it was when I was doing it.
Is there an opportunity to go back to that type of competition with this merger if we get the class structure right?
I certainly hope so. I mean, that would be just terrific. I think that would really mean a lot. And you know, hopefully with the expertise that we've seen on marketing expertise that we've seen on the NASCAR side or the Grand Am side, that will really you know, help sports car racing a lot. And of course, having everybody pool the resources into one thing, to me, I just can't can't help but think that's going to help a lot.
But you need events like this, Chip, don't you, where you get a crowd like this and the enthusiasm that events like this bring to it?
Absolutely. And you know, it's funny because, you know, in the GTP days, one of the things, and I don't know who's going to like this and who isn't going to like this, but I'm going to say it anyway. You know, one of the things that people really liked was street races, and I know that's maybe not quite as, you know, popular today, but you know, it was taking the event to the fans and getting new fans that way, instead of always trying to get the fans to come to the racetrack. And I thought that was a great thing. I mean, I think that it went a little overboard because there was so many of them all of a sudden, but you know, there were some of them that were just so special, like Miami, and it was really good.
Well, from one sporting legend to another, Chip Robinson here in the studio with us, down to Jamie Howe, who's got the legend that is Jason Varitek from the Boston Red Sox.
Yes, Jason Varitek, the former Red Sox catcher. You went to Georgia Tech. This isn't your first time coming to Petit Le Mans, but what do you think so far?
It's been an awesome experience.
You were the Grand Marshal today. What was it like to wave the green flag as this field of cars went to race?
Yeah, I was sitting up there with the rush of the speed and everything and the wind and everything, and those cars going by was pretty exhilarating.
I know you're a little bit of a car guy. Which kind of car is your favorite?
I think I have to stick with a Porsche.
When you're in the Flying Lizard Motorsports pit, this is one of the top teams, certainly in North America, all over the world when it comes to sports car racing. What is this experience like?
The whole thing's been just awesome, but just to see these guys work and the amount of detail they put into what they do, it's really impressive.
Well, I know you're enjoying your day here at Road Atlanta. Go ahead and go have some more fun. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Jason Varitek, formerly the catcher at the mighty Boston Red Sox. I have to say that for all of my friends from the northeast of the country. The lights are off on the MPS, the Mazda 3 MPS safety car.
Yeah, just before we go back to green then, just Chip, just how things have changed. I mean, here we are, we're 5 hours and 45 minutes into the race, and we've had one retirement.
Yeah.
A bit different to the old days.
That is a huge difference. I mean, the cars now are so reliable. That is a really big difference, and they seem to be almost bulletproof if you don't hit anything.
Yeah, and that's the only reason that car is out of the race, because it hit something.
Stay with us, Chip. Thanks for being with us. It's great to have someone with your background and your achievements in the booth. I've never met you before, but I've read a lot about your exploits, and I need to have a little more of a chat with you if we do get a chance. The blue Mazda 3 MPS is about to pull off, and we're about to go racing. Jeremy notes down the time, and we are green with 5 hours and 45 minutes in the book. And Andrea Bellicchi has jumped in behind the wheel of the number 12 Rebellion. 243 laps completed as we went back to green. And remember, this is a lap race unless we go super long on time. We've never had to do that in the past, and at the pace we're running at the moment, something would have to go terribly wrong between now and the end of the race. So watch out for lap 394. That is the magic number. On board with the 055. That is Scott Tucker, the man behind Level 5 Motorsport, just dragging up behind the Nissan Delta Wing. And actually didn't drag up to it that well, actually, in fairness. It's quite interesting. And the sun is now beginning to affect the drivers into turn number 7 as it begins to drop down on the horizon. Wow, that Delta Wing is fast when it's unleashed. Did somebody just fire that out of a cannon?
It puts the power down, doesn't it? It really does. I mean, everything is, all the weight is over the back end of the car, and it really does transfer that power. Doesn't have all that much horsepower, only that 300 horsepower, but boy, it gets it on the road very efficiently indeed.
I wonder what it could do if they really turned it up. Yeah. Because it's running 300 horsepower, and part of that is to make it as economical as possible. As Jeanette's just sliding backwards and forwards across the track, trying to get a bit of heat into all of the tyres. It's super light on its tyres, therefore it takes a while to get pressure and heat into it. And again, coming up over the skyline there, you're seeing how difficult it is to see ahead. And cars that have windscreens, of course, that's going to be even worse with the bugs, the dirt, the tyre rubber, the oil. Oh my goodness me. Our cameras are pretty good, and you could see nothing there going into 5. Now here's the Viper, the biggest engine car in the field, and the Nissan Delta Wing, a 1.6 turbo, the smallest, as it goes through on the inside. And where's my braking point? I've got not a clue, I can't see.
Yeah, and it'll get worse before it gets better. You know, as the sun goes down there, it really is directly ahead of you as you're turning into turn 8, and you know, and the track there is actually fairly high level. You look down to the trees that are kind of, you know, 100 yards or so away. So the sun really is directly in the eyes. Probably about another hour or so.
Just one other thing that I've noticed about the Delta Wing, and the next time we're getting on board, look at it. Look at the wing mirrors. Look how stable the wing mirrors are. It's like looking at a still picture in them. Now, those were added post the design of this car. It was never meant to run with them. They had 6% of drag. It was originally meant to have 2 screens there, but they stick right up in the airflow, but they are very, very stable indeed. And if they can do that on a car that only weighs 475 kilos and is so aerodynamically, the aerodynamics are so important on it, then clearly it can be done on single seaters and other cars. It's amazing just how good that view is through the rear view. Watch for that next time we go on board with the Nissan Delta Wing as it goes through turn number 5 and heads back down the hill. Little glance in the right-hand mirror there for Alex Papau in the 0506 Porsche Core Autosport car that's ahead of it. And we're getting that clumping of cars going out on the back straight again. And I think the whole of the Nissan Delta Wing team will be very pleased with this outing. The car has been quick, it's been consistent, and it has turned its laps with great consistency. Got an 18.2 last time around, but it's been a good 4 or 5 seconds quicker than that when it's needed to be.
14.9, the best lap that that car has turned by Lucas Ordonez, actually, back in several hours ago, back on lap 121. But it's certainly been running very consistently, and it's been up, you know, with other pit stops. It's been up as almost in the top 3 or 4 for brief periods of time.
Of course, it's not being classified, as it doesn't run to any published set of rules. It is an experimental car, if you like. But rules makers, I'm going to say this again, rules makers, lightweight cars, let's have that Voiturette class, the mini car class. Right, here we go. Now we're talking, because look at these 2 Corvettes, because we've got Corvettes first and second in the GT category. Now that's nothing new, but dear viewer and listener, remember that the Magnussen car has yet to win a race this season. And whilst that might not be the biggest thing on the minds of the crew, Jan Magnussen has, for the last 13 seasons of the American Le Mans Series, won at least 1 race in the season. As we stand in 2012, how many races has Jan Magnussen won, Jeremy Shaw?
Yeah, 0 this year. He has had, I think it was 4 second-place finishes in the first 5 races, had all sorts of opportunities to do it. He nearly had a win at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park up in Canada when he was passed on the last lap by Johannes van Overbeek, and it appeared that was the move for second place. But in actual fact, the number 45 car was thrown out at the end of the race, so it ended up being for the win.
This is problems for the JDX car, and it's a left rear tyre problem, puncture there. Well, at least a deflation, and Sean Johnson is in trouble. That car was in the pits a wee while ago.
Yes, it was.
And they had the engine cover up on the back of that Porsche. Right indicator on from Sean. I'd like to say go a little bit slow, Sean, if you hear me.
Everything off, all fans off. Michael will get in.
Yeah, just probably wants to take that a tiny bit slower. The guy should be on the
Slow
radio
down,
to
little Sean, slow it down.
There you go.
There you go. That's
Well
Jeremy
done,
Dale.
guys. Well done, Jeremy. Well done. Oh, slower than that. That's going to come apart. Much slower. Much slower. Crawl into the pit lane. No power, no power. There it goes. Well, do you know what? That's good news, though, Jeremy, because it didn't break apart and start flapping around inside the rear wheel arch. Slow.
Down the box is wide open.
He's still got some rubber there, and look at the heat on that tyre carcass. I'll have mine medium rare, please. That's actually a pretty good job by the youngster. First time in a long distance race, first time in the ALMS, the IMSA GT3 Cup champion. Oh, nicely done, young man.
Yeah, it's a shame. It had some difficulties the last half an hour, 40 minutes, because that car was absolutely quite convincingly for quite a long time. but they've had some problems now. They're already several laps off the pace in that class in GTC. 221 laps completed by the leaders. Now number 30, it's Kuba Giamerziak who's driving the car number 30 at the moment.
Sean Johnson just walked out of the car. Michael Valiente is in the car now. Although the left rear tire has completely blown, it came staggering into the pit lane on its wheels. The crew is taking off the wheels right now, putting on a new set of Yokohama tires, and assessing the other part of the car for any damages. It looks like it was just the tires.
Go.
Still got to love the sound of that flat six. I can't imagine sports car racing without the sound. There's not much for the tyre engineer to examine there, is there? Well, I think that was a problem with the tyre. Oh, and I don't know. Go out and claim that piece of smouldering rubber that's on the exit of 10B.
It's going to be a brave man who's going to get that, I can tell you.
They'll want to know, though, because they want to know if it's intrusion from the tyre, if it's something to do with the way the car's been set up, or it's been catching part of the bodywork. Meantime, back at Corvette, the internecine battle rumbles on, and rumble's the operative word when you've got two big front-engined American muscle cars, America's sports cars, built in Bowling Green, Kentucky. At least the street versions are at it first and second. Milner and Magnussen. The battle at the front of GT brought to you by the letter M.
And that BMW right behind these two Corvettes, two Corvettes battling for the lead in GT. The BMW, it's not in third place, it's a lap down, is that number 55 car in fourth place, however. So,
come on.
Yeah, exactly. If the BMW can get past these Corvettes, it's no easy task. It can perhaps get itself back onto the lead lap.
The reason I'm supporting the 55 over any of the other GT cars is you need to know that our crew here are sports car mad, and all of the production crew have a little sweepstake, and I pulled out the 55 today, so that's why I'm getting rather excited about that. It's great to work with such enthusiastic people. Now Sean Johnson is out of the JDX number 11. You saw him bring that car limping in just a few moments ago, as we've had a spin for the Greaves Motorsport car. We haven't called that car's name or number very much today. The number 1 car, which has got Alex Buncombe at the wheel of that at the moment, one of the secret weapons of Nissan. Such a steady driver normally.
In between the last two corners, quite high speed, the car's fine. I've spun, I'm now back. There's a lot of shit on the tyres. I'm not sure if it's done anybody on the floor or anything, so I've got a box to be sure.
And when I say steady, I mean consistent, not slow. He's a very, very good driver, is Alex Buncombe. So let's have a look at him coming down the hill then, through the final set of corners here at Road Atlanta. Look in the background. Oh, that's a very odd one. Actually spun clockwise when you might expect him to go the other way. What did he do? Clip the curb on the way out? Yes, he did. Ran right over those curbs and then spun it back counterclockwise, in fact, anti-clockwise across. He's been very lucky there not to get much closer to that wall. Yeah. Stephanie Hansen knows all about that from a few years ago when he went straight on and rather indecently mounted the tyres.
Yes, it wasn't very pretty, that accident. We've had a lot of accidents there in the past, but yeah, he was lucky to get away with it. But it's interesting the way it spun around the other way. I mean, he kind of got behind on his steering, as Richard Petty, I think, would describe that one back from the old days.
And there's the GT battle, and that's still first and second. It's still the two Corvettes. And here is the battle for the GT, leading down the inside, and Magnussen goes through, and Jan Magnussen leads in GT, takes the position away. And on the radio, the forecast saying a problem with the right front tyre. He's had to ease off a little bit. We'll keep our eyes.
Wrong, like toe link broken or something, maybe, I don't know.
Oh, that's even worse than that.
Very weird to drive right now.
That's Tommy Milner.
That's Tommy Milner talking to the team. And here comes the 93 and the 55 trying to get laps back. It's 3 wide going into turn number 6.
Pit this lap, Tommy, pit this lap.
That is all a bit unnecessary at that point of the track now. Quite clearly, Jörg Müller.
Weird, very weird.
Müller in the BMW, Jörg Müller will want to get after that leading Corvette and get his lap back, because he is sitting in 4th position at the moment. Could become 3rd, of course, if that second of the Corvettes needs to come in. Okay, that little bit of action over, standing waiting patiently for us down in the pit lane at the JDX pit. Taro Kogi has got Sean Johnson.
I talked to you before the race. How awesome was that to complete your first stint in ALMS?
Oh man, the first stint was awesome, but unfortunately the second stint had a little bit more excitement than I was looking for. Had a little bit of a tassel with the LMPC car at the top, but we came in for a new tire and everything was going well, but then had the throttle stick going through turn 12, and that's why I just understeered straight off the track. So, you know, I'm grateful I was able to keep it out of the wall, but that was quite a ride and more excitement than I was looking for sure.
Sean Johnson out of the car, and the puncture as well didn't help him. Perfect timing from him and Taro, as we see that Corvette coming into the pit lane with some kind of steering problem, and you can see Tommy Milner weaving left and right down the pit lane as a wheel gets away from one of the guys at Dyson. It's on its pit stop now, and Jamie Howe is there.
And how fortunate for Corvette Racing that they had already locked up both the drivers and the team championship in the last race at VIR, because the number 4 car, Tommy Milner, on the radio saying there's definitely something wrong. It feels like it's in the steering box when he turns left. It feels like it's skipping teeth. It's just not right. So the team right now, they did put the fuel in the car, couldn't do any other work. The team now going to work, pulling off the bodywork, taking off the tires, trying to diagnose the problem.
Well, there was definitely a bit of play in that steering. If Tommy was holding the steering straight ahead when that mechanic was working the right front wheel, that's not right. You don't expect that in a racing car. Don't expect that in a road car nowadays, of course, with rack and pinion steering. But that is very scary. And what a strange condition to have. Just gives you no confidence at all in the front of the car.
Sounds like it's skipping teeth. You said it's skipping teeth internally, right, Tom?
That's what he's being asked, and he's nodding away there.
When I turn left, the car is very slow to turn, then turn sharp. You know, I get the turning finally, so it feels internal for sure.
Yeah, and Tommy Milner.
I mean, if it's internal and it breaks, he's going to be hard into the wall.
Yeah, that's not good. That car's been on the podium every single race except for Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, where they had a... What did they have there? It's some sort of problem. What happened to it there? But that was the only time that car's not finished on the podium this season. It's running up front here at Petit Le Mans as well, with what just about almost exactly 6 hours now completed.
Yeah, and really got to say, you can't take the chance on that around here. You're having a good look at it, but if it's not something obvious, that I feel that call might be going behind the wall. They're putting a brand new set of Michelins on that car. Now hang on a second, that looks a bit more urgent. So is there something, is it just maybe a loose track rod end or something like that they're looking at right at the end of the steering arm? Yeah, or something on the... Jamie Howe is down there. They're looking at the bodywork, Jamie. Now I wonder if it's been catching on the front fender.
That is a little bit what it looks like. The team right now pulling pieces off. They did find a spare piece of plastic that was stuck. It wasn't being held on. That seems like they think that was the issue. They also pulled out a ball of rubber that they threw back over the wall.
Feel it out.
Hopefully this is what's going to fix it.
But you remember, John, the last pit stop this car made, they had some difficulty getting that left front wheel back into place.
Well remembered.
If there was a big chunk of rubber in there, that might explain that, and maybe it didn't tighten up properly, something as a result of that, or maybe just that chunk of rubber got somewhere where it shouldn't.
Yeah, or it moved. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've seen before at Le Mans. I remember at Le Mans this year, the Audi guys having a problem when a ball of rubber, literally the size of my fist and bigger, like a softball size, not even a baseball or a cricket ball size, got stuck in between two moving parts of the rear suspension, and that ruined, of course, the way the Audi was handling. So rubber pickup is not always just for tyres. Well, he's taking it very easy, as you might imagine, as he goes around turn 7.
Yeah, it's cost him a couple of laps too now, so we've now got just 2 cars on the lead lap in GT. Jan Magnussen, the sister number 3 Corvette, leads just over 4 seconds from Scott Sharp in that 0-1 Ferrari. You see, he's not up to speed here yet. There goes the GTE AM car. The AF Corsa Ferrari passed him as well, so clearly Tommy Milner not up to speed there.
couple of people asking why there's no Audis here this year, Jeremy, and this race is an ALMS race this year, not a round of the ILMC or the WEC, and the WEC moving away from shared events to all events of their own. There will be a double header next year with the ALMS on Saturday and the WEC on Sunday at the Circuit of the Americas at Austin in Texas. What a bumper weekend of action that is.
Well, if you're a sports car fan, you want to be there for that.
Book it now.
Yeah, that's going to be a tremendous weekend of racing.
There is the four coming back in. Quite clearly, Tommy not happy with the handling of the front end. Jan Magnussen leads the class now by 4.3 seconds over Scott Sharp in the 0-1 Ferrari, and he's gone behind the wall. It's the only thing you could do. There's no sense in messing about with something like that.
Nice and easy, nice and easy.
If it wasn't something obvious, as I said before, you can't take any chances with it. And it's not just your own...
Leave it running for a sec. Can you feel it just sitting there?
It feels very weird. I can feel something skipping around, kind of.
It's not just your own car you're taking a chance with out there, Jeremy. It's other people if something goes wrong, and that's a smart move by the guys at Pratt & Miller.
Yeah, absolutely right. If it's not consistent in there, then you know, the driver gets a bad feeling right away, and he'll lose all confidence first of all. But as you say, if something's going to break, potentially break as well, it can have consequences for other drivers as well. So certainly a smart move by Corvette Racing to bring that car into the pits, bring it into, take it back to the garage and find out exactly what is wrong.
I apologise for calling a Corvette a muscle car. America's sports car, yes. Muscle car, no, apparently, according to the cognoscenti. Wait till we get the Camaros and the Mustangs back before I can talk about muscle cars, I suppose. There's Scott Sharp, second place. Everyone's a critic in the age of Twitter. There's Scott Sharp, second place at the moment, 3.5 seconds behind Jan Magnussen. Closing in a little bit at the moment on the Dane that leads the category. Andrea Bellicchi is 3 laps to the good at the head of the field in the Rebellion. Got to say thank you very much to Chip Robinson, who's been sitting with us for a little while. It's been an absolute pleasure to have him with us. I'm going to have a quick word with him while we take a break from the action. Rest assured that with 258 of 394 to go, there'll be more to come from Road Atlanta. Bellicchi, Plowman, Papo, Magnussen and Maziak are your 5 class leaders for the 2012's American Le Mans Series final. It's been plenty of action and work so far, and more when we come back.